household.
Were you cool in high school then?
No, I was not cool. I don't think I've ever been cool. I've never been cool.
No, I have no way to disagree with that or to come to your aid and say, oh, of course you were. So I just
No,
have
it's okay. You don't have to come. You don't have to come to my aid. You can just agree and just be like, yeah, I would agree with that. And I'd be like, yep.
yeah, I'm taking that on faith. Yeah, you're a real loser is what I heard. Um, yeah.
It's time for Gavin Doodle.
Hello, hello. It's a Wednesday afternoon. It's 3 p.m. here on the East Coast in New Hampshire. We have a special Gavin Doodle today. It's a afternoon. I think it's the first afternoon we've done in a long time. We have on our special guest, Laan Cham, who's here, who did Zombie and Brain Are Friends, Somewhere in Between, Mau Mau's Perfect Imperfect Day. Their work is super fun, super playful. I'm excited to have them join us. I have lots of questions, of course. I always have lots of questions for people, and probably too many questions. But we're going to get into it today and talk about some of the work that's here that you can see. And we are going to hopefully have a lively conversation. And so if you have questions, I want you to put them in the comments. I'm trying to get my feed up here. Again, for some reason, it's not working. I'm not sure what's going on with my iPad, but I will try working on it here in just a minute. Tonight, sketch-wise, I'm doing a thing like this. Next month is Pride Month in the U.S., so we are, I don't know if it's around the world, but I'm going to do a lovely piece about a guy picking a flower out of a park, I guess. And so it's a piece about love and how love is for everybody. So let me switch my camera to me. Here we go. There I am. Let's get me in a lovely little shot for you. Hi, everybody. So again, I'm going to put Ask Us Anything in the comments, and I will see if I can get my iPad working here. It's maybe just because it's low on battery. But it did this the other day where it doesn't seem to want to, sorry, I'm looking at it right now trying to solve what the issue is. Hold on, I'm trying to, oh, nope, okay. I need to get my Instagram up there. Let's see if that works. So today we're gonna have on Laan Cham. We're excited to have them on, and let's see if I can invite them in and get us going. For some reason, it says it can't restart it. Hello. Oh wait, we got.
Hello. Can can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you. I see a circle right now.
Oh, yeah, mine is black. Okay. Hold on. Oh, okay.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Got it.
Now we're talking. We
First
got.
try.
You were in the void for a few minutes,
Oh,
and am I coming in okay? Oh, I think we got a stall on that end. Let me double check. Lauren, how's our feed? She's stalled, but I'm not, correct? Am I moving? Okay. So, Lana, if you want to disconnect and reboot it, let's see if we can get you on. Sometimes it takes a second. Obviously, tech is always tech. But in the meantime, let me see if I can get this angle a little better for us. And I see people writing things, but Lana is, I think, disconnected for the minute. So let's see if I can try. Oh, yes, I can talk about that for a second here. So I'm doing mentorships. I'm in the middle of them right now. If people are interested, you can go on my feed. There is a love the glasses. I hope you're talking about my glasses. There is a post a little while back, or you can just DM me and I'll send you information on it. Okay, so we see Lana has dropped off for a moment here. We'll see if we can get them back on. But DM me if you're interested in mentorships. I'm doing them from now all the way until essentially early January. And so I'm cycling people through as they come in, and I will try to fit people in if it makes sense. But just DM me, and I'm happy to send you the info, or you can look on my post. There's a post of a image of a little girl helping her dad fix a car, and it's in that post. It just says mentorships on it. You should be able to find it. Okay, let me try inviting Lan in again and see if this works. Give me 1 second. Let me try posting or typing in the right name. There we go. Invitation is sent. Okay. I will. If this, I'm trying to, my wife's telling me things I can do in the meantime, like mention my YouTube at Studio Hoffmann on YouTube. You can find all of these recorded postings. Okay.
Okay. Do
Oh,
we?
there. We're there. Crossing our fingers. You can hear me?
I can hear you. I'm just like, because like before we had like double audio, like our conversation was repeating back to me, and I was like, is
Oh,
it?
okay.
Yeah. So I paused, and then I saw that I got frozen, and it was just wild. And I was like, all right, let me restart my phone completely.
Okay. I end
I
up
think
with,
we're okay. I'm still
okay, well,
holding my breath. I'm not gonna lie. Right now,
yeah,
I'm still holding my breath. I'm like, are you
we
gonna
will,
glitch on me?
we will cross our fingers, and if it happens again, we'll just hop back on. It happens periodically that tech becomes an issue, but I also restart my phone before I do these every time in hopes that it will get rid of any of that issue. But we have lots of fans of yours that are popping on, giving you lots of love already in the comments. I know you were away and you probably couldn't see that, but that is you have support out there from the world as well, from our abode here, our house. And so what I want to do is let's just jump in.
Okay.
I need from you 2 bits of information.
Okay.
First thing is, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name is Laan Cham. This is. I feel like everybody always makes their pitches on who they are, and I'm like, I literally am like, I am me, and I draw, and I do children's books. I'm, yeah, that's it. I like cute things.
Okay, so I gotta ask you, because I know I asked you because I have a horrible time understanding if this is gonna make sense. I said Lan Cham, but you just said Laan Cham. So
Yeah, no, I've heard both. Initially, I would also say Laan Cham. I grew up actually in a very diverse community. I've heard my name said every which way. That's why it doesn't really matter to me.
okay,
I also swap between the two. I've heard people say Laan Cham, and I'm like, you can swap your vowels like that?
yeah,
Cool.
okay, okay. I tend to do I have a problem with A's, E's, I's, O's, and U's in general. It's a Midwest thing. So if I mispronounce it or if it goes off the rails at any point, please don't be offended.
No,
um,
I love it. I
okay,
love all accents. I don't know. It's fun. You're good. You're
okay,
good.
good, good. That's lovely. Tonight we're going to be, or today, I guess, we're going to be drawing. I know you're up in Canada, right? You're up in Vancouver. Is that right?
Yeah.
Vancouver, is that, I'm trying, this shows my American side. I'm sorry. This shows that I don't understand places outside of America. Uh, is that East Coast, West Coast, in the middle?
West Coast. I'm not
West.
gonna lie, when you said it, I also was like, where am I?
Okay. So you're earlier in the day. You're at like noon time or something of the sort.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Gotcha. I was when I said nighttime, it's not nighttime here yet, but I was trying to track that. Okay, so today we're gonna draw, we're gonna chat. It can go any which way, any direction you want it to go. I'm open to any conversation, whether it be business or not. So please, um, uh, sort of let me know if it goes off the rails. But I need 2 bits of information now. One is,
Okay,
what are you gonna work on? And two is, what are you gonna make it with?
good question. Okay, so I decided that I actually thought about this for a while because like with picture books, normally you can't work on them
Mm-hmm.
like on camera. But for this one, I think it should be fine.
Okay.
Be fine because it's an end paper for my own like author illustrated picture book. What a weirdo! And it's just one character that I'm just going to draw a bunch of times, which is not really a spoiler. I've drawn this character a couple of times on my own Instagram, so I'm like, it should be fine. One character, million times, it's good.
Yeah. That's the idea of end papers generally don't have like the heart of a story. So I think, yeah, you're probably fine there. And um, I've heard, and I don't know if you've heard this either, but that there's like a percentage rule that a lot of publishers use, where it's like you can only show a certain percentage before it crosses that line, and so
Yeah.
you can hint at things, but you can't necessarily show the story. So an end paper clearly should be fine. If they get on your case, you send them my way. I'll rough them up. I'll teach them what for. Um, I don't know as I have any power, but you tell them. You tell them Mark said that it's allowed. Um, and then, so material wise, I know that you tend to use like as far as I can tell, digital through a majority
Yeah.
of it, but there are textures that show up, and I don't know if some of that is traditional, if any of that's digital. So do you know what you're going to be? I'm looking in here just to see what the Califon says. Yeah, Procreate. There we go.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're going to be using today?
Yeah. So actually my like my book, What a Weirdo, I'm doing a mix of digital as well as traditional. So I will today be actually working with color pencils specifically. Stephanie has entered chat, the author of Zombie and Braid Are Friends. She literally
Mhm.
just like came in like fire, as expected. As expected. I expect
Yeah,
nothing less than Stephanie.
literally put up a fire emoji for us here. That's that's in there. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, why are you apologizing? I'm the one who got distracted. So what was I going to say?
Oh,
I'm doing
material.
traditional color pencils, Prisma color pencils today. That's what I will be using.
Okay, beautiful. The and but normally, like, do you sketch normally digitally and finish digitally, or is this like is the traditional material out of range general for you, or is that something that you're just doing for the day, kind of?
I vary. I vary. So when I started my entire art journey, I actually started with watercolor and gouache. So I'm actually very well, back then, like 5 years ago, I was more equipped with traditional, and I kind of lost sight of it when I moved towards digital, because everything on digital is so easy to undo, whereas traditional is very much a commitment. But in but in like the past few months, I've kind of preferred the commitment, like just committing to this line on this paper, this is what it is, and moving forward with that. So that's pretty much like the past few months more so I've been going back to traditional
Okay.
to really embrace more of that, like just committing instead of always worrying about like, oh no, this stroke doesn't look good, this line doesn't look good, this doesn't look good, that doesn't look good. I'm like, nah, it
Yeah.
is what it is. Because at the
Like,
end of the day, actually, when you finish it, it looks great. But the entire thought process is you constantly doubting yourself every step of the way. Every step of the way. You're just like, yo, this is ugly. This is ugly. That's ugly. And you're constantly just like, okay, maybe this will work. That'll work. And then when you finish it, you're like, it looks fine. What was I talking
yeah,
about? And
yeah.
you move on with your life.
You overthink in the middle of it. It's sort of it's the way that I like to think of it is sort of like a road trip, and you don't know exactly what it's going to be like when you get there. And then when you get
Yeah.
there, like, oh, this is not as dangerous or as scary as what I thought it was, or different as I thought it was. It feels, I like living on that edge a little. And I've heard a lot of people actually switching back towards traditional because of AI, the idea of
Yeah.
getting off computers or sort of implementing that in some way. So today, again, we're going to chat. If the internet is nice to us, it should be smooth sailing. If it's not, then we will fight the internet too. You can send the internet my way, and I'll rough them up as well. Um, but at any point, I want to be respectful of your time. At any point, if you say, I'm getting tired or I need to hop off, I won't be offended of any sort. Don't hesitate to take the time that you need. But why don't we switch to our downshoots and
Okay,
start talking?
that sounds good.
Okay. So I have a feed up here in the background that I need to restart Instagram here and see if I can get it to pick up. But I should be able to get all the comments and whatnot from folks as we go along. Yeah. I'm talking to my producer upstairs real quick. Lauren, it does not look like it's doing it. It's not doing it. If you want to come down and try to tweak it, that'd be lovely. So I normally have a feed that I can see, and for some reason it's not giving me the comments. But let me start by asking you some questions, and these are going to be pretty bare bone questions at the beginning, and feel free to adjust accordingly. But
Well, actually, Mark, I have a question for you because I saw one of my friends, Bule. Bule knows my work, but Bule's wondering about your work. You should tell us a bit about yourself so people know.
I saw that comment too, and I was like, I don't know if people really want to hear me.
Of course they
Okay.
do.
So I will give the brief synopsis as well. So my name is Mark Hoffmann. I'm a kidlit illustrator. I do editorial work. I do gallery stuff, and then I am a full-time professor on the side. And then I run this show called Gavin Doodle, where I have on lovely guests like Laan Cham here, who is here to talk about industry, to talk about making, to talk about life, all the fun things that come out of the wonderful world of illustration. And so that's me in a nutshell. But we're peers, we're compatriots. We're in the same ballpark, we're in the same world effectively, and it's a matter of you draw characters like zombies and brains, and I draw potty humor. And that's pretty much that sums me up is potty humor in some horrible way. So
I don't know if that's completely accurate. I've seen your work. I would not say.
It's not all potty humor, but there are 3 or 4 books I've done that have involved poop or vomit in some shape or form. And so there's a specific publisher that came to me twice to say, hey, we have another book that has stuff like that in it. Do you want to do it? And never did I say no. So let's put it that way.
I mean, you're diverse.
Yeah.
You're diverse.
I like poop and pee and vomit. There's the diversity for you. It's that lovely collection that's out there. So outside of that, outside of me talking about poop and pee and vomit, I want to get a little bit of history because my wife and I were talking about how on your website, how it says like you were born in this location, you lived in this location, but you're from here, but then you also live in Canada, and it's this like big, long, complicated history of travel and world and whatnot. And can you real quickly sort of sum that up for us and tell us a little bit about sort of like growing up and sort of what you've been through, how you got to where you are today? Not necessarily just Canada, but
Oh my.
you know, life in general.
Oh
How did this
my.
come to be?
Let's see. Well, first of all, I feel like my whole life has been, so I was talking to my friend about this recently, and this is the friend that I don't think she's here in chat, probably because she didn't get the notification, and then she'll tell me later about how Instagram is, like she hates Instagram.
It failed
But
her. Yeah.
yeah, it failed her again, and she's going to be so annoyed. I love her. So when I started my whole artist journey, she was there for every step of the way. And so this is like that person that you kind of just I don't know, super comfortable. So I was talking to her randomly about how I've realized that majority of, because I was in your last live and I was talking to her, like, kind of reflecting about my own. And I was telling her, I've realized I'm like one of those figure it out people. Like, I had no clue what I was doing most of my time. So, like when I was a kid, I was born and raised in America. But my parents, like I realized I should be drawing, and at the same time, I'm like
Yeah, yeah.
constantly like I'm looking for my references of my own character, but what I'm doing while talking is literally swiping up, swiping down, swiping up, swiping down. I'm like, can you just pick?
It's okay. People tune in just to listen sometimes, and this is the section for them. This is the section where
This is
you're
a
allowed
section for
to
the people
talk.
who are listening.
Yeah,
For the people who are waiting, I apologize. I literally am off screen swiping around. So when I started my whole, or sorry, let me go back a bit.
yeah,
So my parents are from like my mom is from Singapore and my dad is from England, and they like so I'm first generation American, and they also like brought me up, as I said earlier, in a diverse community. So luckily there were like it was full of Asians, Hispanics, like
yeah,
everyone. Just it was not like predominantly white. It wasn't predominantly Asians. It wasn't predominantly like any specific race. And also like because of that, my education, I don't know, I had really great teachers growing up. Like some not so great, obviously. You can't,
name them,
let's be
name them,
honest.
name them, name them. Yeah,
No, I'm not gonna name them. I'm not gonna name them. Those poor souls. Like that was years ago, and everybody has a bad day, but I was a kid. So, those bad days, like they reflected on me, and then like I just remember them. But everybody has.
yeah, yeah.
So, um, because of that, I really just had such a upbringing of like nobody really knew what they were doing. My parents didn't know it. I'm the oldest too, so we really didn't know. Like my parents were kind of raising me from their own cultures.
Yeah. Which
And
is
then you
which
go to
mixed,
school.
yeah, mixed bag
Yeah,
already of culture. Yeah,
exactly. You mean, um, so it's a mixed bag, and then you go to school, and it's more of a mixed bag. And all my friends also were all from different like ethnicities as well. Like I had like friends from China, I had friends from Korea, I had friends from Poland. Like obviously, certain various degrees of like not all were first generation. Some actually just moved from Korea. So like I had a lot of exposure to all of this. And then as I got older, my interest in it just continued to grow. And I actually, on my own, started to just explore outside of my hometown because, as much as I did, in some way, shape, I mean, like when you're a kid, you don't really love your hometown. You're like, this place is boring.
yeah, yeah. It's
But as you get older, you kind of like come to love it because it's the nostalgia.
wait. What was
But
what
as a
was your
kid,
hometown? Because I don't know if I picked up on
oh,
that.
I Oh no, I didn't mention it. So my hometown was like a little town in New Jersey.
Okay.
I won't say more. But it
Okay.
was really like we were about an hour away from New York City.
Okay.
So
Okay. I get the general idea.
yeah, yeah.
No
So
names have to be said. Sure.
no names have to be said around that area. And so so when it came time for, to spread my wings and go out into the world, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I didn't even know being an illustrator was a thing. I didn't even know I would want to do art necessarily. I didn't know anything. I was just one of those kids that's like, you go out and you study and you get good grades. And
Yeah.
then, like
Something
I
will
said, like
happen.
my parents,
Yeah.
something will happen. Like my dad was somebody who he only I don't actually, I don't even think he finished high school. He either did finish high school, he definitely didn't go to college. So he either only had a high school diploma or he didn't. So his big thing
Okay.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, so his big thing was like, you have to have an education. I mean, so a lot of it was focused on school. My
Well, that's
mom,
wait. He
Asian,
didn't have an education, but he's telling you that you have to have an education. That's
yeah,
a little loaded there. Like you don't have to do it, or you have to do it, but I didn't have to. He got away with
kind
it.
of, but I was fine with it because he kind of explained how much he wished he did it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so he took the time to be like, this was something I regret, and I want you guys to all have that foundation. But then my dad went ahead and told me that he kind of like didn't really know what he wanted to do and kind of bounced around. And now I look back and I'm like, Dad, I did the same stuff as you. Like, even with an education, I'm like, I still did the same stuff. So all my bouncing around also resulted in me like doing different kinds of jobs. And then COVID happened. And that's when, because when COVID happened, it was around that time, I was also realizing I actually do not like the jobs that I've had. Like they're okay, but they're not really necessarily what I want
Yeah.
because there was
what kind
all.
of jobs was it like? What was the occupation that you had before?
Oh, I worked in editorial and film.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it was fine. I mean, a lot of people, the sad thing is when you're working with a bunch of people who are like, I love my job, and you're sitting there going, it pays the bills.
Okay. Yep. I understand it.
Because at the end of the day, what I really wanted to do was to draw. But every single time I came home, I was tired. And I always found an excuse not to draw. I was like, not today. I'm too tired. Not today. I'm too tired. Not today. I'm too tired. So when COVID hit, I decided to make the plunge. And I was like, I'm going to draw. I'm going to do it. And the rest basically turned into history. And during that time, that's why I brought up my friend. I talked to her like every day. She was working, mind you, but her job was the kind where as long as she didn't have a meeting, she could be on the phone. So the
Yeah.
entire time I'm drawing, I'm talking to her, and we're talking about everything and anything for like a solid year.
So you basically had a sounding board of sorts
Yep,
while you worked. Was
yep,
she working in the
exactly.
arts or was she working? Um,
She she was also from editorial film.
okay, so she it's at least adjacent enough that she could understand
Oh yeah.
some of the things that you were going through, or some of the thought process of the art making side of things. Um,
Oh no, no, she didn't completely. It was more like that sounding board of like, remember our old job? Yeah, that sucked.
okay, it was a venting board, not a sounding board. It was a venting board. Gotcha.
Exactly. And then I would show her my piece at the end and she would do her usual, oh my God, I love it. And I'm like, oh my God, you always say that. And she's like, because I'm always right.
That's that's. I mean, was she wrong or was it like? I will say this, and this is maybe me projecting here, but when people say they love work that I do, I always play that. My reference point for this is weird. It's whenever someone asks or says to me like, "I like your shirt," my immediate reaction is to say, "Oh, I got it on sale," or tell them how somehow it was not as important a shirt as they seem to think it is. And so I always downplay my thought
Yeah.
process or whatever. And same thing with art is when people say I love your art, my first thought is never thank you. It's always there must be something behind it. There must be they must not know what they're talking about. I always try to psychoanalyze why they would actually say they like my stuff, which is silly in a way. But I assume that your friend liked your art because it was good art, and not necessarily because they're just your friend, right? I assume. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
maybe.
mean, like, the one thing I value about her deeply is I think the same thing she values about me. We are definitely not people to be nice for no good reason. We
Okay.
give credit where credit is due. But I think for me, back, like, I definitely agree with you with the feeling of downplaying your work because a lot of times when people really like what I do, it both feels nice, but it also feels like I look at it and I'm like, I wish I could see what you see because what I see is I could do better.
Yeah.
And that was my mentality for like the longest time. I'm like, I can do better. I can do better. I can do better. And as an artist, at some point, your brain goes, what is better? Like, what is actually better?
Yeah.
And that's when you kind of stop and go, yeah, I don't actually know how to answer that question.
It's sort of like your brain saying, I know there's a finish line out there somewhere, but you've already finished the race, and you've already done. I always tell my students, and I think you're saying it in a better way. I always tell my students that like there's a certain point where you just don't need to care anymore. And it sounds awful to say that, but in the sense of like overthinking how people are going to react to your work, you're looking at every small detail and they're not going to look at it the same way. They're not going to look at it at that level and go, well, that little whisker on that cat in the background that is insignificant is in the wrong spot. No one ever says
Yes,
that, so
yes,
you're,
yes, that is a good. I feel that. The amount of times I'm like, that eyeball
yep,
is
yep,
slightly lower than the other one. And you know what? At this point in my life, I have how many pieces where one eyeball is slightly bigger than the other,
yeah,
and I just look at it going,
yep.
"Uh,
No little kid is coming up to me going like, I don't like the way you drew that. Like today, I just did a school event this morning actually, and
oh, quite
they asked me
exciting."
to do a dinosaur. And when I drew the dinosaur, I accidentally like closed off the body shape, and I didn't mean to because I was going to draw legs. And so
Right.
I had to draw the legs after the fact, and they didn't quite fit the way I wanted them to. But no kid stopped me and said, ooh, you screwed up, mister. They just said, nice dinosaur. And so I like, again, we're in our own head. Did you go to art school out of curiosity?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Like I'm at one point I did. Like I originally like my path was I actually went fashion
Oh, okay.
because I had no again like going back to no idea what I was doing and kind of fumbling through life. Literally, I hit a point in my high school where I was like, "We have to go to college? What do you mean I have to take these tests? What is a plug? What?" And my parents also because my mom is from Singapore, so she also was like blanking and she's going to ask all her friends like what's happening. And my dad is like, I didn't even hit this age. So me being the first kid is like, but luckily I had friends who like, they were like, I'm taking this course, like, or this class to study for this test or do this or do that. They're like, come with me, come with me. And I was like, okay. And I didn't
Yeah.
really know. I was just like, okay, because I didn't tell them yet that I had no clue what was happening. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't realize yet I had no clue what was happening. So luckily I had a bunch of friends who were like, oh, I'm gonna go study or I'm gonna start preparing for this test. You should come take this class with me. And I was like, yeah, okay, like I'll come join you. Why not? Just I had a very why not mentality when I was younger.
Yeah, you're
So I
real
was like, yeah, why not?
loosey goosey with things where you're just letting things slide. The reason why I asked about the education side of things is just the idea of crit and the idea of like having people say, really nice things about your work, but then also having a classroom where they can tear you down some days and sort of do you need that level of, hey, that's not good enough in order to feel good about your artwork, which some people do.
Yeah. I
And so
I
it wasn't
think
a intentional of like, hey, did you go to art school? There's some judgment call on that or anything of the sort, but more so just how much crit did you have growing up? Uh, if your parents were not big artists or things of the sort, where did that come in? So, um,
no, it's a valid question. And like I definitely took it that way where it's like it's not um criticizing anything. It's more like,
yeah,
oh yeah, my path was just kind of like fumbling until like I did go to an art school, but even when I was in that like partial art school for a while, it nobody really taught me how to draw, but there was a lot of like everybody kind of drew however they wanted to draw by that point.
okay,
And there was, especially on me, a lot of criticism on a lot of the stuff I did, except when it came to my character designs. Every time it came to character designs, for some reason, that's the only time I would get a pass. That was it.
huh?
Every other thing was pretty much like, so what's happening here?
What do you have understanding of why? Like, was there some like looking back on it? Was there something that you go, oh, that makes sense now, or is that just some random fact that kind of showed up all the time?
um, you know what? I never really thought back on it because I never really held necessarily a grudge to it. It was more like the way I looked at it was like maybe they just don't understand what I'm doing, or maybe I don't understand what I'm doing. Because I definitely had more of that, like, I'm not really sure what I wanted to do in my life. Like, school was not a time where I was really figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. It was, again, more about getting good grades. I think it was just like, for some reason in my brain, the focus was predominantly getting good grades versus actually digesting knowledge.
Okay.
So when teachers would criticize me, it's like, I think they had valid points for sure, because there's a lot of takeaways I took. But I think to some degree, looking back, I'm like, I don't actually remember a lot of the critiques because I think some of the critiques were predominantly, in my opinion, I do think a number of them were self, like just what they liked,
Yeah.
which is
Generally,
very valid, you know?
yep.
Like professors can like what they like, just like how anybody can like what they like. But also back then, I'm like, I was lost. So I really didn't know what I was doing. So I don't really weigh it in that regard. I definitely, though, like when I decided to go on my artist journey, the biggest critic was me.
Yeah.
Everyone around me was very supportive. Well, my parents didn't really completely understand what I was doing.
Okay. I like everybody was really supportive. Well, I like that little pause that you put in there, like, oh, here's the dirt, here's the guy.
here's
So, yeah.
here's the fairness.
Yeah.
My parents didn't really fully understand what I was doing, but they were hoping I was gonna figure it out while also kind of being like, "You sure you don't want to go back to your last job?" And I'm like, "No,
Do they get it now?
no." Not really. They're
Okay.
kind of they're mostly just like I think very old school. So they're like, "Do you make money?" And I'm like, "I guess." And they're like, and they just blink at me, I smile, and then just like slowly exit conversation.
Yeah. As long as you're surviving, they're okay with it. But if it wasn't, then they'd have all sorts of deeper questions about life, kind of
Oh
situation.
yeah, especially because both my brothers are in the tech field. So
Hmm.
they're very they're good. They're very good. And here I am like, I'm an artist. I draw birds.
Yeah. I got the same thing. My brother went into a field that was, let's say, adjacent to what my parents did, and I went into something that was on the other end of the spectrum from what my parents did. And so there's lots of like, initially there was lots of questions about sort of like, what are you doing? Um, and I still think to this day they don't quite understand it all, but
Yeah.
they're supportive as parents, but they don't they're not understanding of the complexities or the minutia of what we do. Let's put it that way.
No. But
Um,
they try in their
yeah,
own ways. But I definitely think it's that part of the brain that they just didn't tap into. They just can't fully tap into it because I do think to some level, like, parents just, for better or for worse, they care way too deeply about you. And then they're like, we're so worried you're going to make a mistake. And I'm like, I finally, after like how many years, realized that the only way to make it through life is to make mistakes
yes,
and
yeah,
be able to bounce back from all those mistakes. So, as much as a parent wants to shelter you from your mistakes, the truth is they're just sheltering you from learning
oh, yeah.
because of their own fears.
Hmm.
It's valid. It's valid. It's completely valid. It's just what comes with caring.
Well, let's.
But it also,
Do you have kids?
no, I don't.
Okay, I
I
was gonna
don't.
say.
Actually, it's funny because I also did a school visit recently, and the kids were all like, "Are you a mom?" Because it was right before Mother's Day. So they're all like, "Are you a mom?" And I'm like, "No, no, I'm not." And they're like, "You look like a mom." And I'm like, "Thanks."
What does that mean, kid?
I
Uh,
know. I'll never forget this one kid. Oh, I love this. I stood there and I was stunned because I was like, they were all saying how old they are, and they're like, "How old are you?" And I didn't want to say. I should have just told them I'm 105.
yeah,
Just, I should have just told them I'm 105. Um, and when they go, "Really?" I'll be like, "No, actually, no, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I'm 110."
yeah, yeah. There's. I've got a
But
few years. Yeah.
yeah, but this one girl, oh, kind of love her. She was like, she's 28 at best. And I was like, I don't know if I should be insulted. I was like, it was the at best that made me, I was just
Well, wait.
internally laughing. I
Was
was
she
like,
saying that?
wow.
Was she saying that you were younger than 28 or older than 28?
I have no idea.
Because one
Just
of
the
those
at.
might be a good thing and one of those might be a bad thing, depending on how you read that situation.
I think when it comes to little kids, even like 28 for them is
Oh,
old. You
it's
know what I mean?
ancient. It's ancient.
It
Um,
is ancient. So when she said it like that, I was just like, it's the at best that I was just cackling. I was like, I came back and I had to tell everybody. I was like, this is the funniest thing. This is the funniest thing.
I assume
I'm like,
I assume you're of the same boat where like, and I don't know how old you are, so I'm not gonna. You're somewhere around 28 is my guess. Um, but
we'll go there.
yeah, but when I was in elementary school, I look now like my kid went through elementary school, and all the teachers are like in their like mid 20s. They're all like super young, maybe 30s,
Oh,
somewhere in that range. But when I went to school, I feel like all the teachers were the equivalent of nowadays what I would consider someone in their like 60s or close to retirement. And I
oh
don't
my.
know whether that's true or not, because is it just a perception of a little kid thinking all older people are much older than what they are, or did I really have you know grandmas, soon to be retirees, as teachers? I don't know which. um
I
like
mean, it doesn't help if the teacher has white hair, let's be very
yeah,
honest.
yeah, yeah, true. I don't know which. I don't know if my teachers had white hair. I couldn't tell you that at all. I'd have to I'd have to, like, it's so far removed in my head that that's a thing. Um, with uh, I forget what got us started on this conversation, but oh, the little girl saying that to you. But now wait, now I
So
can't
funny.
remember what it was before that, because there was something before the little girl even. Um, Shoot, I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
It's okay.
Um, so growing up, did you know at the time? Because obviously, like, you got into art and art became a thing for you. But did you know that Kidlit was the avenue for you? Like, was that something that early on when you were drawing and you were doing those characters and things where in school people were going, "We don't get it." Did you know that there would be a connection to Kidlit?
Nope, none. I had no clue even picture books was a thing. I didn't realize picture books was a thing until my friend all the way in like she's in New Zealand now. But at the time she was like, "Oh, I'm just doing this picture book." And I like trying to I guess like they were doing self-published with a friend or something. And she's like, "Oh, I'm just illustrating this picture book." And I still hadn't gone on my art journey yet. And just like I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew that I like drawing. Like it was something that always brought me joy.
Yeah,
And so far, none of my jobs really brought me that level of joy. Like there was joy in some aspects, but it always felt a bit empty. So when she said that, I was like, what do you mean? And then my brain was like, who do you think illustrates books? And I was like, I never thought about this.
you never put that together. And wait,
Oh my God. The amount of times I don't put two and two together, I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. Walks away like light years later, being like, oh,
did you have picture
okay.
books growing up though? You must have had picture books.
I did. I have some. They're right. Yeah.
And you just
I have nothing to say.
disassociated. You just moved them out of the equation altogether.
Yeah, I will. I will. I have nothing to say. There's no salvaging me.
I mean, admittedly, like I said today at that school event, and this probably speaks to you too. But when I was a little kid, artist meant someone who hangs up their work in a museum, and
Yes.
not someone who makes books,
Yes.
or someone who designs furniture, or whatever it may be. There was a disconnect of what artist meant altogether, and
Yeah.
so that alone, I totally understand in the sense. But yeah, there had to be, unless your parents were evil of some sort. You saw books when you were a kid, so you just didn't connect it to a job.
Yeah. I didn't connect it to a job because
Yeah.
back then, with my mom being your typical Asian mother, jobs were doctors and lawyers
Yeah.
and like
Okay.
the
Yeah.
big the big money makers.
Yes. The kind that you can retire on. Those jobs. Unlike,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, and so now you're in Kidlit. Now you're in this world. What? Obviously, that person that you knew in New Zealand, or now lives in New Zealand. I don't remember if you said that they moved there during that time frame, but you're in this industry and you've been doing it. is there some level of like recollection where you go, man, this was the thing that was in front of me this whole time and I didn't see it? Or is this something wherein, um, like it was sort of a natural evolution to get to this? Like, how immediately did you jump into it and go, this fits?
I don't think I ever yet feel like it fits. I
Oh,
feel
really?
like, yeah, like not that it doesn't fit. It's just that I think because like I started to realize, like I said, like because I've kind of been like my life has been figuring it out. I'm like I haven't really. I feel like I've spent so much time figuring it out that I've become almost weirdly accepting of things changing.
Okay.
So as much as I'm like this, like I enjoy it, I do it. Part of me is also like, but if something else comes in or something changes or what, and what if it's better? Or like
Yeah.
not necessarily better, but what if I really enjoy that? Like my brain's kind of like, well, then if you really enjoy it, yeah, go.
Yeah. Are you a traveler by chance? Do you like to travel?
I I used to be, and then I got busy and COVID happened. So before COVID, I was very much a traveler. I spent a lot of time, um, going around. Uh, Definitely went to Singapore a number of times to explore my roots. I love the the Eastern, Japan, Hong Kong. Actually, I've never been to Hong Kong. I really want to go to Hong Kong. I also really want to go to Taiwan. And all of these like definitely influence my art for
Okay.
sure.
The
But
the
when
reason
I was
I asked
younger,
the reason I
hmm?
asked that question is because of the idea of like uh, the willingness to jump and move into new things is, I feel like, is the like archetype of someone who says like, oh, I just want to get away for the weekend, I'm going to go travel to said location without necessarily like worrying about planning or you
Oh no,
know
I need that's the weird thing, right? Like I do need some form of plans. Like as
okay,
much as I'm like, I would love to go do this, my brain's like, okay, how are we gonna make that happen? And I'm like, I don't know.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not as smooth as just jumping on a plane. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Sorry, I cut you off in the process. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but you were saying,
you're fine.
shoot, what were you saying? I lost it.
I don't remember.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It's fine.
Um, so let's jump back into the kidlit for a second. Let's talk sort of shop. Um, so in jumping into kidlit, was this something that there was a active decision? Was it something that somebody like proposed a project to you? How did kidlit become uh, as integral to your making process as it is right now?
So when I decided to go on my artist journey, I actually didn't really know where I was going necessarily. I just was kind of drawing what I liked.
Okay.
And I decided as well because around that time, like, Instagram was for a while had been quite a platform for artists. And so I decided I was just going to post my stuff on Instagram and kind of figure it out from there. And while doing that, that's kind of how I fell into the Kidlit community because I started seeing, obviously, I started becoming even more exposed to art because I already had friends who did art, like concept artists and people who did character design. And so I've already been exposed to the industry side, like as an animation industry or film industry, like I've seen those kinds. But when I went on Instagram, all of a sudden there was a time, like in the beginning, I was all of a sudden exposed to Kidlit. And the reason I knew it was Kidlit because when you start Instagram, you have to know what your hashtags are back then.
Mm.
So I'd be looking at people's hashtags, and especially when I liked their art, I'd be like, oh, like, what is this? And then they were like, Kidlit. I'm like, what's Kidlit? Like, again, I'm not piecing things together very well. So I'm like, what is this? And so I would
Yeah.
click on it and I would see more and more, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I got into it. Because also around that time, So when I started my art journey, I drew more characters because backgrounds horrified me. I was like, I have no depth perception. I cannot draw a background. What is light? I love it, but what
Yeah,
is lighting?
gotcha.
So it was, yeah, it was something but something I very much was like, no, I need to do this. I need to do this. There's no way. It's just like when I started drawing hands years ago. It's like you can't not draw hands. You have to start learning to draw hands if you really want to draw art.
You don't have to draw
So
them well. You just have to attempt it, where most people don't attempt it. there's
yeah, exactly.
there's plenty of hands that I've drawn in my career that don't deserve the light of day, but they're out there of some sort.
Well, the funny thing is once you get good at doing something, so like once you get good at drawing hands, now all my hands are literally like you see what they are in the books. I'm like, one, two, three, four. Okay, I'm done.
Yep, yep. It's it's the way I like to refer to it is sort of like visual symbols. This is a symbol of a hand that works for me, and I don't have to do like you don't have to go all in and draw every single knuckle every single time as long as it meets the definition of a hand. It has some fingers and it points at things, and that may be good enough to solve the day. Um,
Exactly.
and now I'm looking in the background at your hands, and I'm like, okay, let me double check. I'm looking at the books just to see like how you draw hands. Um, do we need to get you
I mean,
lessons?
it's evolving. It's getting better.
Okay. Okay. Whoo. Yeah. You save yourself with that. The evolution. Yeah. That's
Right? You always gotta save yourself a little bit. I mean, you don't have to, but we like to always just be like, oh, it's getting better. But
yeah.
truthfully, probably we're going the other way.
I'm I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Someday it will be solid, but right now, um, so I mean, once you were in the world of kid, like, well, first of all, did you immediately go like, I need to get an agent and stuff, or was it just I'm gonna make some cool images and see what happens?
Oh, I was definitely like, let me focus on improving my work because again, at the time when I started, I started like my first year, I think, or like my first six months. I was pretty much doing watercolor and gouache. Like I didn't have a tablet or anything, and it wasn't until like that Christmas, like literally my brothers were like, "Merry Christmas, here's your first iPad." And
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Go be professional." And I was like, "Okay."
Wait a second, your brothers
So,
are officially tech bros.
yep, yep.
They're
They're really
like,
tech bros. They were just like,
yeah,
"Here." And I was
yeah,
like, and so shortly after that, actually, like, so I started really trying to improve my backgrounds because every background I was doing was on traditional watercolor, and it was also on this really, really like, do I even still have it? Oh, I don't even know actually if I want to show it. They're so bad. Okay, let me hold on.
you want to show it. You want to show it.
I want
Let me
to
see if,
show it.
yeah, if I can mess with your mind. Yes, you want to
Yeah.
show it. Right.
Let's see. My desk is a giant.
Well, while you look for that, I'm going to yell at my wife real quick. Hey, Lauren, I still have no. Okay. I would say don't worry about it. That's fine. Okay. Here, while you are doing that, I'm going to run something up to my wife and swap stuff out.
Oh, take your time.
Yeah.
I thought I knew where it was, and now I'm like, oh, now I don't know where it is.
Okay. We are. Let's see. I don't know if I have the port. I don't know if I have the connector for this, Lauren. So I'll use this for now, and then when you get a chance, if you can figure out that one, send it back my way, and I will do it that way. Let me see if I can find this live feed on this iPad. I don't know if it's
Oh
showing
my
up on
God,
this
I found
iPad.
it. I
Um,
did indeed find it, and now I can't close this door. There it
let's see. Hold
goes.
on.
Show us.
Sorry. Sorry. This is it's having problems on this end. I'm getting nothing. I'm seeing. Okay, my wife's telling me how to use internet real quick.
Ah,
Uh,
take your time. The internet already betrayed me earlier, so it's all good.
okay. Oh, there it says live. Okay, here I'll trade you back then, because this one's gonna run out of power. Sorry about this one.
Oh, you're fine. You are more than fine.
This is called tech problems. Tech problems. Um, okay,
That's
now
just like,
I can see the feed. I don't know why that was such a pain in the butt, but it was. My wife is my tech bro. She's not a bro, and she's not techie, but she figured it out for me. So, okay, we're back. We're back, everybody. This is the fun of live internet. Um, okay, where were we? You were showing.
yeah, so I
Uh,
found it.
okay.
So these are like my old, like when I first started. So when I first started on Instagram, these were like all my like old beginnings. This was the size I was working at. I don't even know what this size is.
It's,
What does
yeah,
it say?
relatively small.
It is. I tend to work small. When I like anytime I do traditional, I mostly work small because it forces me to focus more on what's in front of me versus worrying about all these little details.
Yeah. Okay.
But because of that as well, there's limits. But I mean, like, there was a joy in it, but like also immense limitations as well as like figuring out backgrounds. But because of this, when I went to digital, it became like this endless sea of like, do you know how much you can zoom in?
You love the yeah, the nuance of pixels at this point. You love a pixel as much as
Yeah.
this beautiful brush line. Yeah. No, it's one of those things where like some people absolutely adore that. Some people despise it in some shape or form. I'm sort of I for me, I like the challenge personally of just not knowing exactly where stuff's going to go and having to figure it out on the fly. But there are plenty of times where I would love that undo button on pieces. And like even when I started the piece I'm working on now, there was a point where I was like, I don't know if this is the right color for the background, and I have to figure it out. But some people absolutely hate that challenge. Um, Now that you're working digital, do you think there's a like well, let me ask you this. I was talking to someone online, so I'm doing these mentorships, and I was talking to someone. We were talking about that idea of um, working digitally and working traditionally, and how to blend the two, and how to make it feel one like the other. And the one
Right.
challenge they had was that when they got into digital, they overused the zoom and they overused the undo button to a point where they recognized it. They said like, I'm not letting things be. I'm sort of over analyzing or overworking things. And so I
Yeah.
started talking about, like, well, maybe don't zoom on your piece. Don't like set a limit of some sort. Like give yourself rules that you have to play by. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering, since you have some background in the traditional material, and then on top of that, you're working in a digital field that has a lot of options. Do you set limits for yourself? Do you have rules that you like? This is
Oh
as
yeah.
much as
Yeah.
I'm allowing myself to do. And what are those rules? Like, can you name some of those things off the top of your head?
Yeah. So sorry, I just saw like Stephanie's like, I have to hop off on a call. I'm like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Again, author of Zombie and Brain Are Friends, amazing writer, has many books out. Y'all should check her out. She's lovely. Okay, bye.
Amazing author who has so much going on, they have to leave in the middle of this
And
lovely conversation. Just turn
it's
the
so
other way.
hard. It's so
Yeah.
hard being so fabulous. My goodness.
Yep. Yep. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, my rules. So when people ask me, I tell them, and they're not always the happiest because they're like, well, I can't do that. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's the thing about traditional is the idea not to undo because you can't. Undo is pretty much like the most you have is like a white pen, which now I can't even find mine. Mine is, I don't
Yeah.
always use it either because the thing I hate about white pens on traditional is like the paper itself has a certain like when you hold it up to the light, it has a consistency, obviously, that makes it paper. I don't know how else to describe that. It's just like there's a consistency. And once you apply white paint to it, now there's a blotch there. So
Yep.
there's this weird, like almost an imperfection that I personally do not like
Yep. No, I
because
agree.
I like it being like its intended state. And that's how I approach digital. I'm like, my limitations with digital is to very much work on it as if it's traditional. I do my very best to make sure in a weird way that I work on one layer because I'm like, if I have multi layers, I have a higher probability of overworking it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I would do that for the longest time because you kind of have to train yourself to know when to stop before you can almost give yourself back that luxury of like having layers again. It's not to say you take it away forever. It's just in the beginning, it's so easy to be like, I have how many layers? And that's also something I really liked about Procreate was Procreate has a limitation on the layers they give you. So off the bat, especially like the older iPad was like,
Yeah.
think for
Yeah, a real limit if it was.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially especially for picture books, like a 21 by 11 picture book, I think for like Zombie and Brain, I had like 13 or 12 layers. That was it.
Oh, I worked on some on my. I had an iPad Pro 1, like the original, and I could have 2 layers at one point,
Oh,
full spread. And so it was lots of like, do something, save it out as a Photoshop file, as a backup in case something goes wrong, flatten it, and then come back and do it again. And it's that process over and over and over again, which was gross. Now there's a lot more options just because of the RAM that's involved. But with with that idea of um, the limitation on layers, do you do that on every project, or is that something that is sort of consistent?
I tend to do it on almost every project. And I say almost because there are sometimes projects where, because the way I go into it, I try to commit. But
Sure.
sometimes you are not in the right headspace. Let's be very honest. You're not always in your best top form where you can like fully be like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like there's many times where you don't really know what you're doing. So those are the times when I allow myself the layers because I will rework colors. I will rework environments. I will keep working at it until I know I've overworked it. But when I know I've overworked it, what I do is I turn it into a JPEG and then I almost in a way redraw it. So I get back that feeling of traditional on a whole new canvas. So at that point, I give myself extra work pretty much because of my indecisions. I'm like, well, you were this indecisive. Guess what? Now you get to do more work.
Well, even with that idea of like the overworking and saying, you know, there's a time frame, there's a uh, like a check-in point, I guess is a better way to put it. Like that idea of like saving stuff out as a JPEG or as a TIFF or whatever you want to save it out as, gives you that moment to stop and reflect and see if it's
Yeah.
working or if it's not, or that idea of multiple saves basically is what it comes down to. Save your work.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And a lot of times I do, and I feel like it really like saves my soul because that's when I take myself away from like the nitpicking and I really look at it and I go, yo, my previous version was actually better. My
Yeah. Mhm.
like I spent the last like 2 hours fixing this thing and nah.
I just did that the other day on something. I spent forever cutting something out and then realized, nope, I had another version that I should have been cutting out instead, to
Yep.
put it together. One of the reasons why I wanted to know a little bit about the layer stuff, and I know it's probably not as exciting for people who are out there going like, I just want to know how to paint. But the idea of layers in the industry, there is oftentimes a need for layered files, or like for marketing, sometimes they go like, do you have that layered so we can turn it into a poster, or the type has to be on a different layer, or things of the sort. And I'm wondering, does that weigh into any of those decisions of when or when not to have that, the excess of layers at point in your work? or is it sort of independent of that? Like, has anybody come to you saying, "Hey, when you're working on this book, can you send us layered files?"
Oh, everybody says it. Everybody says it every time. In the beginning, they're like, because when you start any project, as you know, you get a handy dandy little, like, this is what we need from you.
Yeah,
And normally, a lot of times, I address it up front and I'll just tell them, my work tends to be more often than not. And I don't tell them all that because then they'll just be like, oh, then give us like whatever layers you have. And I'm like, okay, wait, no. Truth is, by the time the finished product is, there are no layers because when I have layers, it's nothing more than me figuring. So instead of confusing everybody with my own thought process, I've been saying, hey, my work, there's layers, but what I can do, because I know what's more important, is your text on a separate layer because they might need to change or adjust or it is for if it needs to be translated.
yeah,
So that I always provide on a separate layer for all my lettering. But for everything else, it's predominantly one layer. And if they need anything marketing, I mean, they're always welcome to reach out. I also am
no,
like, I always say that every single time. I'm like, if you need anything, let me know. Like, if you need any changes, let me know, because ultimately it's like, it's just very easy for me to be like, boop, 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 cut you out, clean you up, pop you out, done. And it sounds like, oh, it's extra work. And I'm like, not really. Not
yeah. It
really.
doesn't
It's
take
like,
that. I mean,
it doesn't take,
my stuff never has layers, and I've cut stuff out and had to essentially piece together a background that wasn't there digitally just so that they could have a layered file and move stuff around. But it's not, if you know what you're doing, it doesn't take that long. If you're new
exactly.
to it, it can be a challenge. Um,
Exactly.
so
I
tell me,
kind of,
oh,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
Please, please,
No,
please.
I was just gonna. The way I treat it mentally is like paper cutouts. That's pretty much just what I. It's like a digital paper cutout.
Yeah, yeah. That's basically what I did. Like there was a time where I was working on a pitch for a with a company. They hired me to do some little sample art for a board book that had some functionality. And in order to make that work, I could not just do a flat image, but that's the way that I work. So there was lots of like I had to do a couple things in pieces that like had to be photoshopped together in the end. But again, not a heavy lift, not a now I won't ever say that to them. I won't ever say it's super
Right.
easy because I don't want them to go like, oh, well, then we're not going to pay you for it. But there is some level
Right.
of I can do this. It's not the biggest thing in the world that has to be solved. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, exactly. There's some things. I think that's also another thing that in the industry, sometimes it's also how we word things and say things. Because even though it doesn't necessarily always take us the most time, the reality is a lot of us are working multi projects or doing multiple things, or life is just happening. So even if this like something that maybe will take me an hour, it's like, yeah, this might take me right now an hour, but I have to drop everything. And right now I can't drop everything. I actually won't be
yeah,
available to do this for like the next 3 days. So even though this necessarily only takes me maybe 2 hours, I have like 72 hours worth of work I need to squeeze into a 3 day period
mm-hmm.
where I have to figure out sleeping.
Oh yeah, you're speaking to the choir here. The idea of there is a limit on how much you can push yourself before uh, you break in some fashion because you're sort of overworking and uh, undervaluing your time away from project. Um, are you
Exactly.
are you someone pushing up against deadlines regularly?
No, not regularly, but this time around I am, which I'm quite, it's not common. Like for me to have right now, I have three projects running at the same time, two of which are in final art. Both are due 2 weeks apart from each other.
Oh,
And I have
oh,
another one that's in final, well, not final cover, but we're in rough cover review. And that means that one can come in at any moment. And that one also needs, like, that one also, I believe, has a tight deadline. Like, there's no way to keep endlessly working on it because we're so close to the end.
Yeah.
So I am in right now that period of like, I have a lot going on. So sometimes when they come in being like, hey, like, we need this by this time, I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
like, sorry, not feasible. Like,
Yeah.
I will need a bit more time. If I do finish it early, like I always say, I'm like, I might need a week, I might need 2 weeks. If I finish it early, though, you'll get it, which they do, because sometimes I do. Sometimes my brain just works and I'm like, boom, boom, bang, bang. Oh, hey, look, it's done. Psh, take it. And then
Yeah.
I go back to my other stuff.
So have you missed a deadline then? Like at all?
Never, never.
Even if
I'm very,
even
hmm?
if you need a little extra time, it's always like approved.
I'm very transparent about the time I need in accordance to also my everyday life because things happen, you know, it's not like I can always sit at my desk doing drawing all the time because even if I wanted to, my brain also some days is like I'm tapped, like I'm completely tapped out. So I tend to always upfront tell them exactly what I need. And sometimes it is like not always what they want to hear because sometimes they're like, we need it in a month. And it's like, respectfully, you took 4 months to review sketches. I will
Yes.
need that time
Yes.
to do final
Yes.
art.
Yes. Preach. 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 I
So I'm very much somebody who is like, you one, you should know what you're getting from me because my portfolio, my art is everywhere. Or at least there's like, here's my website, here's my Instagram, like this is what I'm capable of.
yeah.
But you will have to also give me the time to work on it, and I will tell you upfront. So every deadline I always hit because I always make sure I set a deadline that I know for a fact I can hit. Even if other things happen in my life, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I said that this would happen. It will absolutely happen, and it does.
Have you worked right up until the end though on some?
Um,
What's the
Not crunching.
latest a book? Let's put it that way.
Hmm?
What's the latest you've handed a book in? Was it a day before? Was it a week before? Was it a month
Oh, you
before?
mean the earliest? I
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
deliver right on time, but the
Uh,
earliest I've handed it in, I think, was like a couple days before, mostly because, so I tend to finish a book about a week in advance. But it's
uh,
not to say that it's finished. It's just to say that week in advance to 2 weeks in advance, I give myself the time to review because you're working on like 19 pages, or sorry, 19 spreads, which is like 38 pages of illustration. And in those 38 pages could be like maybe 50 illustrations, which you have worked on for the past how many months. And during all that constant working, you've improved along the way, which sounds great, but then you notice consistency issues. And then your brain goes, oh, actually, you know what would make this scene better? And that's what I allocate the last 2 weeks to is reviewing all of my work, seeing what I've done, making sure everything is consistent, making sure everything is in its place, making sure I didn't change something weirdly along the way.
yeah. So
Like,
you're not doing heavy lifting at that point. You're doing tweaks for the most part.
exactly, which I
It's,
always leave time for because I think when you work up to the final moment and hand it in, it I can't say if personally, I guess I'll speak more personally. I personally just don't feel like I'm always handing in my best. I feel like I'm rushing to do my best.
okay. I see. We do have a question here. I want to make sure that we sort of jump to, which is from Hot Swedish Buns. Um, yeah. Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
Nah, it's bullet. It's all good.
Someone's that's I'm gonna look back at it later, and that's not actually what it says. It's some other thing, and I projected that into it. Uh, we have a thing from like hotel something. No, Hot Swedish Buns asks, "What's your guys' hottest tips for working with projects?" So like thinking about that, and then general the idea of you're working on long form projects. These are not projects that are done overnight. These are projects that are done over time. And is there a methodology to your making? Is there a process that you have landed on that has become um, more efficient for you or allowed you to do what you do?
That is a very good question.
Uh,
Um, I would say it's a mentality thing. I've learned to let go, and that has
Okay.
made me more efficient. It's
And
also made me enjoy the process more because I think before I was always so stressed about making everything look so good, worried about how much time I was going to take, worried about not hitting the deadline, worried about, I don't know, anything you can imagine, just worry about it.
when you
But
say
then once
let,
I,
yeah, when you
hmm?
say let go, what do you mean by let go? In what fashion?
um, let go of the concept of making it perfect is definitely something I learned to let go of. And I think that gave me way more flexibility to actually, in this case, work on three projects at once because I don't feel stressed. I don't feel like, oh no, like now I have, like I'm working on Weirdo, but later on I have to go work on, because we have Zombie 2 coming out. So
Okay.
Zombie 2 and Weirdo are both slotted to like be delivering 2 weeks apart from each other. And it's not something that usually happens. This is just one of those like, this needs to happen. And another project, like it's always that weird scheduling thing where you schedule it perfectly and then like, publishers are like, hey, we need to bump this. Hey, this
Yep.
needs to come bump, 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 bump. And then next thing you know, you got two projects just sitting on top of each other, waving at you, being like, hey.
Yep. Yep. No, I forget who it was. There's someone. Well, there's Maddie Frost. I don't know if you know Maddie Frost's work, but she has 3 books coming out this next month, which is like that's a lot in one. And I know that was not scheduled. That was not.
No,
There's no way that was intentional. That was
no.
a mix up or a delay on some part that caused that. But I've heard of people having stuff come out on like the same day at one time, and
Yeah.
oof, like yeah, the how do you disassociate from the fact that um, you have 2 things weighing on you in that manner? Do you when you're working on stuff, do you maintain some sort of standardized work day? Like, are you a morning person? Are you a night person? Are you a any time of day person? Where does the creativity flow? What time frame does that happen?
Okay, my creativity flows best between the weirdest hours, and it's always annoying for me because it's right in the middle of lunch. Like my
Okay.
my creativity kicks in at 11. Like around 9 to 10 is when I take my mornings. Like if I wake up a bit earlier, I still take my mornings up until about 9-ish, 10-ish.
Okay.
It's just my time to really get out of my system the need to do nothing, the need to not want to do anything. Like I'm pretty much flushing it because I have to be productive. Because if I don't flush it, I'm going to spend the whole day being like, I don't want to do this. So I take the morning to have my coffees because Um, I am productive in the morning, but I'm not a morning person. I do not suggest people to talk to me first thing in the morning. I am definitely like that one word answer where it's like, hey, and I'll be like, mm. And they'll be like, how are you? I'll be like, good. And they'll be like, what's going on? I'll be like,
Back away. I like
please,
you said one
slowly.
word answer, and I heard one word dancer, and I was like, "You're dancing in the morning." I misheard you, and immediately wrong, the wrong thing. Now, if you want to be a dancer, that's lovely, but
No,
was,
nobody should see me dance.
yeah, yeah. Uh, with oh wait, can you dance at all? Are
I have the rhythm of I don't even know what to compare it to, so no.
you you have Mark Hoffman disease? Is what you have. That's what that's called. I don't know. No one's ever told you, but that's what they refer to it in the doctor's office is Mark Hoffman's disease. No rhythm whatsoever. Um, Did you go to school dances when you were young?
Oh my God, yes, but they were so awkward for me. I am not a social person, one,
Okay.
but I would go because my friends want to go, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll go with you. Like, because my friends be like, come, I have nobody to go with, and I'd be like, fine, I'll go with you. And I would go, and we'd have fun, but they'd be like, come dance, and I'd be like, oh no, 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 no. And they would drag me to the dance floor, and I'd be like, oh my God, this is not where I belong. This is not
Wait.
where I belong.
Okay, I'm going to ask you an inappropriate question here.
Okay.
Bear with it because I don't think it's that inappropriate, but age-wise, what ballpark are you in? And the reason why I ask is the idea of what kind of dances were you doing at that age range. Like, were you doing the Roger Rabbit? Were you doing the Running Man? Or were you doing, the Bernie or something of that?
Cottoneye Joe. Cottoneye Joe was my
I'm
dance.
not young.
That was my jam.
I don't know if
That
you
was
want
my
to admit.
dance.
I don't know if you want to admit Cottoneye Joe as your jam.
What do you mean? I love that dance. It was so much fun. It's bouncing up and down. It's line dancing. I don't know. I kind of
Okay,
love line dancing. And then
okay.
also swing. I enjoyed swing dancing. Just make sure you wear the proper attire because that skirt is going to go all the way up. Like,
You're telling me. Uh, no, I was saying Cottoneye Joe as a song, not necessarily as a judgment on the dance. I don't know what the dance looks like, so I can't tell you. But I can tell you that song uh, is not it's not in the upper echelon of songs that I listen to on a regular basis.
I mean, that's fair. When I was younger, I listened to a lot of metal.
Really?
Um, I yeah, I listen because my dad listened to a lot of metal. He also listened to rock. So I grew up, and then because of that, I got really into metal and punk rock. So I was big into like Good Charlotte, Simple Plan, um, AFI. I was not very big into Green Day, and the only reason was because everybody wouldn't stop playing Green Day, and it was like I couldn't escape it, and because I couldn't escape it, I just didn't like it. I was like, you are everywhere, and like I can't breathe. I like Blink 182, Sum 41. This was all stuff I listened to, and then now I listen to country music.
So wait a second, wait a second. Um, I gotta throw in a weird little prejudice that I have, and it's not bad. Don't worry when I say that. I know that's a
Okay.
loaded statement to say. My impression of what your dad was like had nothing to do with metal. I imagine your dad being like this like Oxford British man who like you know what I mean? Like the like typical like uh highbrow educated um wearing jackets with little like patches on the elbow
Oh
tweed,
my
like
God.
that was my vision of your dad. And so you dumping the idea that he's into metal really threw me for a loop there for a second. And I know that's prejudice to me to say all English people are tweed wearing smarty pants. But that's where my brain went for a second. And so,
I
uh,
mean, fair, fair. It took me very long to realize that my dad actually grew up in like what would be equivalent to being a redneck.
okay.
So when I realized that, I was like, I looked at my dad and
It all
it
connects.
made a lot of sense because also the his um accent or his dialect, I don't know what he it's almost borderline like, oh, I don't want to say because no, I'm not going to say because in the case my dad listens to this, he's going to be like, it is compared to what? And I'll be like, never mind, I did not.
You were disowned.
I said nothing.
Um, he wouldn't say it like that. He'd say it in some like Cockney accent or something.
Yeah, yeah,
This
exactly,
is called
exactly. I
Picture
mean, like,
Hour. Yeah, this is I don't know your dad, and so I'm apologizing now if he does listen to this. I'm sure you're a lovely man. And
it's
um,
okay, don't worry. Everything that is said, I've already said to his face, so.
when you were a teenager, probably you're like,
No,
whatever.
I still say it to his face now. I'm like, I think I, like, when I discovered, I told him, I was like, Dad, did you know you're a redneck? And he was like, what? I was like, yeah.
Did he understand it after you went through and explained what a
He
red?
did. And he just like, he did that, my very dad thing where like he scrunches his eyes and he holds his hand between like, on the bridge of his nose and he just like shakes his head slowly and starts laughing. And he's like, oh my God.
He takes
He's
the
like, what is wrong with you?
takes the
He
pipe
always
out
says,
of
he's
his
like, what's wrong
mouth
with
and his decanter down and says, my dear child, I
you? Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly, my dear child. That is very much the vibe. It's always that, like, my dear child. What? And then he looks at me and I'm like, I am your daughter. And then he
That my son, my son, he's not home right now. He's at school, so I can say this, and he won't come down here and beat me up. But he will say, like you're an idiot to me all the time, and my comeback to that is always like you're a child of an idiot. Like
Yes,
you know, like you did not gain any
yes,
process. You basically just said that you're an apple that fell too close to the tree in this equation. So um, yeah,
exactly. Nope, that's exactly it. So I feel like my dad probably used that against me, but the thing is I always go, "Yep, don't forget
yeah,
you're the daughter of one too." But he just like doesn't know what to say.
yep. That's the easy way to stop a insult is to insult them back. That's the way to. Um,
I
we're
like to consider it the British way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The polite way. Yeah.
A polite, not polite way.
Yeah. Did are your parents this is gonna be I don't know why I'm asking this. Were your parents fun parents?
Oh no. Oh no, my dad was. My dad was in a way, but he was rarely home because he really was working.
Okay.
Like he really sacrificed a lot for the family. And so he was not really home a lot, but he was what I would consider the fun parent because he's the one who was like, we need to have family trips. And he was the one who's like, hey, he's the one who actually got me into animation because I at the time I had like really rarely any interest other than playing outside. And
Yeah.
one day he's like, I like on one of his business trips, he's like, I saw this movie. You need to watch it. I got it. And I was like, okay. And so I watched it and like this like I forget how old I was. I want to say I was like 8 or 10 years old. He puts on Princess Mononoke by Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki. And it's horrifying for an 8 or 10 year old, but I couldn't look away. And for that whole weekend, I just kept watching it. And I mean, I replayed it multiple times because I was like, why is this so beautiful? And then not only that, he keeps introducing me to music, to animations. He's the one who brought Disney and Pixar into our lives because he's like, oh, here's A Bug's Life. And I'm like, I did not like it, but I did not like A Bug's Life.
You don't like A Bug's Life? Why not? What's
No, I don't like bugs.
Oh, okay.
And the grasshoppers were way too realistic. They were way too gross for me. I was like, as somebody who literally just watched Princess Mononoke, I feel like I shouldn't be able to say this, but for some reason, I'm like, yet this grosses me out. I don't know what else to say.
I I
So, but he,
not I'm not my biggest like I like Pixar stuff in general, but I would say that also too is not it's not a stellar that's not a one of those ones where everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best Pixar movie." When you start, they were still learning, so you definitely get a pass on saying that one's not
haha,
world. Um, the caterpillar's fun. I'll give it that. Uh,
yes,
but
yes.
outside, okay, sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine. It's good sometimes you cut me off. I feel like I can keep talking endlessly.
Okay, yeah, well, then I need to cut you off more often. I'm tired of all this on and on. This is um, were your so my wife said someone had a question, but I don't see it on here. So hopefully I'm not missing it. Um, I'm going back to see if I missed something on the chat here. Um, well, okay. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about was so you have these tech brothers, these tech bros,
Yep,
as I
yep,
would call them.
yep.
Are they like do we talked about your parents sort of not getting what you do? Do your brothers not get what you do, or are they sort of because they're younger and hipper and cool? I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just throwing that out there. Um, do they sort of register a little bit better, sort of what your job is and what your uh, what you do on a regular basis?
I don't know what they understand, but I can definitely say one of my brothers likes to go around and be like, this is like every time he meets friends and they're like, oh, I do art. He's like, oh, really? This is what my sister does. And I'm like, why? Why? Why do you do that?
Yeah,
And he's just like, why? It's awesome. I just like to
proud of
flaunt you. Yeah. And
you.
I'm like, I'm very honored because my brother is, both of them are very smart, very, very, very intelligent. They can hold conversations and their use of wow, their use of the English language as well. Like everything, I don't know. When you, like you said, Oxford tweed, they don't dress like that, but they have
Yeah,
that very like,
they
they
sound
present themselves very well.
yeah.
And I'm literally that one in a corner being like, I got birds. Aren't they cute?
Yeah. There's when I was doing that kidlit event the other day, well, a different one, a different school visit. I always point out, especially to the age group. This was like I think kindergarten, first grade that I was talking to, and I explained to them that I get to draw dog poop for a living, and I get paid for it. And it's like that's that's pretty cool. Like to a 1 year or to a first grader, say like, yeah, you get to just draw poop, and like someone goes, yes, here's your money. You
Yep.
accomplished your goal for the day. Um, and
Yep.
it totally works. It gets those kids excited, and they realize there's a real potential for them in life when they hear that. What's the dumbest thing you've ever drawn?
Oh my gosh. What is the
When I'm talking about poop for a minute, I need to know. Yeah, what's the looking back? You've done some dumb things. I know I have, but what's
yeah.
your take?
I definitely okay, I've done dumb drawings, but not being paid for them. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
More like sitting with my I had one friend. She's very out there. She just says stuff and like cackles and draws the most wild things and just cackles and then I go join in with her and then she just goes like, "Oh my God, girl, what is this?" And then I just it's just a good time. We don't talk about what we draw though. Not because it's like I don't necessarily draw anything overtly. Like mine is like really like poo or poo with legs or like something like nonsensical, but hers really goes and I just like look away and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Wait, is she in Kidlit or is she
No, she does
okay.
concept art for animation. So she is really like somebody that I look at and I'm like, chef's kiss. Like my goodness.
So
Like
she's allowed to go there and do things that are a little
oh,
dumb.
she is
Uh,
very much allowed to go there, and I love how her brain works because it is very much just like no holds bar, and I'm like, I love it, but oh my God, girl, what's wrong with you?
and then she looks over at yours and is like, that's too sweet and innocent and pure.
Yeah, she says that a lot. She's always like, so cute. And I'm like, yeah, what do you do? Oh, never mind. I don't want it. You know what? No, it's okay.
I want night. I want to, yeah. I don't want nightmares for the night so you can't look. Um, is there, I mean, obviously throughout time you've had uh, some bad drawings, as everyone
Oh,
does.
yeah.
Are there any
Yeah.
are there any drawings that have come and gone in your life where you're like they're distinctly either bad like that where you're like, oh man, I remember that drawing just went absolutely awry, or are there drawings that you have that you look back and you go like, man, that was the best drawing I've ever done, and it still holds true to this day that it's like, whether it's something that's current, but like at the time you're like, man, that was one of those like rare moments where something just worked of sorts.
Yes, I've had both. Um, I feel like I've had more of that bad drawing one way more often. The most iconic one, and something I always tell people who, excuse me, who are interested in starting drawing, is that what you think and what you draw won't always align. They will not align all the time, and that should not stop you. Because this was literally my example. I'm like, I will never forget. There was one time I was like in my head, I could picture the most perfect parrot. I was like, yo, this parrot, I know exactly how to draw this parrot. I can see the outline of this parrot. I totally got this. Drew the beak, gorgeous beak. I was like, yeah, we're totally on our way. I messed up on the head so bad. Not only did I mess it, like I shrunk that head. I shrunk it and I smashed it in. It was without a fault or to all the faults, the worst, like the worst drug I had done to date.
Does
To
it?
date. And that it was so heartbreaking because in my head I visualized it so well. I'll never forget that parrot.
So you don't have that image anymore.
Oh
Just
no, it was on a piece of like paper like this. And back then I didn't really have sketchbooks. I just kind of like stole my dad's computer paper. I would just draw.
okay.
And then like I would clip them all on a clipboard. And then at one point, I lost my clipboard, couldn't find it. And then finally, when I did find it, I put it away and then proceeded to forget about it. And now I have no clue where all of those drawings went, but I have the memories of majority of them. And that parrot will always be very iconic to me. That
Yeah,
very, very poor soul.
I wish that I saved my college sketchbooks because they were nonsensical. There was so much dumb stuff that was in those that today would actually be like fodder for books. I would definitely look at it and go like, oh, this could be a story or things of the sort. But I just don't have because it's the when I got out of school, and I don't know if this makes sense for you 100%, but when I got out of school, I was like, I need to be a serious artist. I need to try to be something that I need to take this job seriously. And in
Right.
turn, made work that was very, I will say, typical, maybe, as it's the best way I can sort of describe it. Um,
Right, right, right.
but now I'm like, because I've had enough time to really process and think, I'm trying to make work that's way less typical and in turn maybe a little bit out there. And those books were like, if I look back to that era, that was definitely sort of uh, much more of a goofball in my presentation and what I did. And so I wish I could go back and get some of that, uh, the liveliness that was in those books back in some capacity. But they're in a dump somewhere, I think, at this point. I don't know, to be honest, I don't know where they went to, but I have a feeling they're in a dump somewhere at this point. With do you do a lot of sketching in sketchbooks? Is that a thing, or are you, because you're digital, do you end up doing a lot of stuff, um, you know, digitally at this point to get out ideas?
Um, it's a mixed bag. I would say for the past couple of years, I did things more digitally. I definitely strayed away from a sketchbook, which looking back, I wish I didn't, but I did. And I think it just was probably that hyperfixation of keeping everything in one place. But now I've started to stray away from I think it also just comes with like years of staring at a screen. Like you've hit a point where you're like, this is not good for my brain. This is not good. I do not like staring at like a light shining back at me. So I started to revisit sketchbooks and draw in them and just kind of also accept whatever I draw instead, because like sometimes you go on social media and you see these people with these beautiful sketchbooks, like oh my god, I'm like, you draw like that, like that, like you just, and it's perfect. I'm like, mine is literally like blobs, like blobs. I'll like rough sketch like, and I'll be like, oh, here's a tree stick, and then like here's like this and there, and then and I'm like, it makes sense to me, but if I showed anybody, they'd be like,
Yeah,
what?
what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
What horse
What's
kicked
wrong with
you
you?
along the way? Yeah, that's no, I the like beautiful sketchbook thing, and I understand some people like to draw like that, and they treat their sketchbook like it's a piece of art, and then there's the other person on the other end who's just like, a sketchbook is a sketch, and it is not finished or it is not meant to be beautiful. It's meant to be an idea on paper, and
Yeah.
I'm someone who just, if I'm going to work on paper. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to work on um, a sketchbook. Like I don't even know if I have a sketchbook in my studio at this point, because it's a foreign object to me. Because I do most of my sketching digitally to begin with, but outside of that, it's the preciousness of it is too much for me in a lot of cases. That I just want to remove myself from that idea of it being like a sketchbook's almost too precious. Even though it's just a sketchbook, it's still too precious for my little brain, my little pea brain, to understand. Is there when you are sketching, what level of sketches do you do for your projects? Like when you hand that stuff off to the art directors, what does that stuff look like?
Oh, for art directors, like
Yeah.
they always say like, oh, it's sketches. I'm like, they're not looking for sketches. They're looking for what I like to call very fleshed out outline. It's really a fleshed out outline. Like if I hand them sketches, they have no idea because I think they're, I mean, like I also get it. You can't enter my brain. So I really need to detail this out for you as best I can, which in a way, it helps me because it hits a place where like even I see my lines cleanly. And then when it comes back to me, because it takes them a while to review. So when it comes back to me, I get to look at it again with fresh eyes and be like, all right. And then I fix some stuff up. And I get to keep revising it in a way to clean it up until I get the approval to go to final art. And then I have a really good foundation for my final art because if I have a really rough foundation for my final art, it takes a bit longer because my brain is a bit more like anything is possible. Whereas when you have a bit more structure, your brain goes, okay, I need to stay between certain things and certain shapes need to be certain ways and yada yada. So,
Do
but
you
yeah.
with that idea of like the trying to solve stuff for an art director in a way, or that early phase where like a thumbnail, like what you're calling sketches are probably thumbnails, is my guess. Like very very loose, um, not intended to be detail oriented at that point. Um, but do you when you hand stuff off, do you wish you could hand off things that were maybe less detail oriented, like aesthetically? Is that something that you would prefer to have um, a looser quality sketch go in as your final?
I think personally, but I think practically no. Because I realize that you really need to, in a way, convince and sell the team that this will work for the final. They really need to see it fleshed out. So if you give them too loose, it's like a bad pitch, right? It's not really, well, it's not really a bad pitch, but it's not a pitch that will work very well in your favor because when you hand it to them, they have to make assumptions or be like, okay, what is this? What is that? They spend too much time on guessing, which might change the end quality because they might not believe in certain things or others. Like, obviously, fleshed out doesn't always fix that because some things can only be better represented in color, which obviously the artist will know best what they feel like will look like in color. But at least when it's fleshed out, it gives the team a better understanding of like, here's the overall, this is what it will look like overall in its close to cleanliness form. So although part of me is like, I do wish we could be a bit rougher, I understand when you work as a collective with other people, it's actually better to be cleaner and a bit more like pitch your idea well.
Yeah.
Pitch it well because it is you're not going to be there to be able to stand there in the room with them being like, okay, this is my intention. No, you're handing off a drawing and your drawing has to speak on your behalf. And then when they come back, that's the only time you can speak.
Yeah, that scribble in the background is a tree. I swear. I swear.
Yeah, exactly. That blob, I swear it's a person. I swear it's a
Yeah.
person.
Um, I see my wife wrote down a question here. She said, "What are each of your favorite things to draw?" And so, the one of the things that I've looked back on my work and said over the years is there's definitely critters and certain things that sort of pop up in my portfolio over and over. Is there something that, like, if I were to go look at your portfolio as a whole, that I go like, oh, that is quintessentially a U piece because it has that same thing or that same motif showing up on a
Oh
regular.
my, oh my God, that's a loaded question. That's a good question. It's a loaded question. I'm like, it's pretty much like saying like, it's like, oh, no, it's that same loaded question as you're like, tell me about yourself.
What, well, okay, so let's put it this way. What, without saying it like getting too specific into like your whole portfolio, is there something that you sort of gravitate towards just in general to draw? Like in my case, as an example, I generally like to draw big animals, or I like there's certain scale of scenery that makes sense to me. Um, or I like tiny hats on things. I just think that
Oh,
adds character or whatever. Are there things like that that sort of pop up?
oh, for sure. I think for me, I like things that glow. I love spooky. I've realized that I really actually enjoy making things a little spooky, a little different, a little weird. So I love that whimsical, spooky, glowy environments. I very much enjoy nature. Um, how light catches things. So actually, like even though I started off not strong with environments. I think environments is definitely something I personally enjoy drawing, more so than characters nowadays. Like I do enjoy drawing characters because I get to give them all the expressions and all these thoughts. But sometimes when it comes to characters, it becomes very like overthought. I'm like, oh, I have, okay, the eyeballs must go here, and like again, make sure that the one isn't bigger than the other. But with environments, it's like grass, 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 tree. Okay, I want this tree. I want the shape. I want this shape. Okay, I want it to branch. I want it to poof. I want it. And so my brain has more flexibility to keep on like just thinking and applying and adjusting and adapting because everything is organic. Whereas a
Yeah.
person, they're organic, but they have like, the I don't even know how the song goes, but it's like da 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 da. Like you must connect everything to everything. So
Oh, yeah. Knee bone's connected to the leg bone's connected to the ankle bone's connected
yep,
to that'll do
which
that.
is yeah, exactly. The anatomy of it all. Your brain immediately goes, okay, don't forget this muscle needs to go here, which means that this bends here. And don't forget your hand doesn't actually bend here, it bends over there. And don't forget, like this arm is too long in proportion to how you drew this torso and yada, 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 yada.
Um, no, I get that even the shoot, I just lost what I was gonna say. Uh, that I know what I was gonna say. And I don't know if this is gonna sort of speak to your truth here, but one of the things that I do not do well with is humans in books, and the reason why is like, and I think I boiled it down to this. I think this is actually factual for me, is that when I work on something that is a humanoid character, there is a consistency that needs to happen in the aesthetic. Whereas if I work with something that is, let's say, a an animal of some sort, fur can hide a lot of discrepancy there. And so, like, if I'm not 100% accurate on an animal, I think a lot of people chalk that up and just go, oh, fine, he doesn't know how to draw animals. Or he doesn't, they're willing to, like, give that a, a loose rein in there. But if I purposely or mispurposely draw a person, people go, that's not right. You know, if you put the
Yeah.
equivalent of like, if you do the pattern wrong on a snake, most people aren't going to go, oh, that's that, he's drawing a coral snake the wrong way. They're going to go, oh, that's just some snake. But if I decide to put someone's mouth a little higher than what it should be, they go, oh, that's not how a mouth works. And they,
Yeah.
those details. And so there's that. It's basically the same thing you're saying. I'm just paraphrasing my sort of interpretation of it. Um, so
No, I
anyway,
understand that.
yeah, it's. I think there's some universal truth, and there's some people who are very very good at, you know, figure work and characters and whatnot. But that's not my cup of tea. My cup of tea is shapes. I love me a shape. Um,
Oh, I love it when like characters are in shapes. I just love it when things frame very well, shapes. That's something that also for me personally, I'm like, I think trying to lean more towards is framing and shapes. I think that's always something I'm working on where I'm like, I don't know, the shapes are great. As soon as I can hit a shape that like things just flow well, I'm like, oh, satisfying.
I like
So happy.
the terminal shapes are great is like such a kid sort of mentality with that. Like, oh, you know what's really great? Circles. Circles.
Yeah.
You seen
Oh,
a circle? Let me tell you about this thing called an
oh
oval.
my God.
It's like a
I've
even better. Um, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine because it's just to bounce off of that where I'm like, yes, circles. It reminded me of in the beginning when people would ask me, and these people obviously kind of stopped asking me what to draw because they're like, what should I draw? And I was like, circles. And they just like, I'm like, no, really. Like, so when I started, like a little bit before, because I had like friends who were in, like, who did drawing, like they were storyboard artists and stuff. And like I did, like I said, like part of my schooling, I did eventually shift to an art school. But by that point, it's pretty much like, nobody's teaching you how to draw. They just expect you to
To draw.
do the work. Yeah, they're like, do it. Like whatever it is, we're just gonna go from there. And one thing that stuck out was two people at two different points in time. One was a storyboard artist, the other was a teacher. They were like, draw circles. And I remember at the time I looked at them like, what do you mean draw circles?
Hmm.
And it's because circles have so much capabilities. Not only is it, so actually, I believe it was Michelangelo, he drew a circle and like, so it was a pitch to see who would be drawing or who would be painting. And I think it was the Sistine Chapel. Don't quote me on that. If you do and it's wrong, I apologize in advance because my art history knowledge is fading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he gave to his apprentice just a drawing of a circle. And he got it because he freehanded a perfect circle. So they gave him this opportunity. And I remembered that when I heard it again from the storyboard artist when they were like, circle, because it trains you to almost be able to, I don't know how to say it. It's almost like it trains you to be better. It just trains you to be more confident in your lines. And they're like, just draw circles. Not only just draw circles, but also my professor was like, draw what works around the circle. Imagine if this was on the circle. What if this was under the circle? Make it warp to the circle. So there was just something about circles. And that was actually where I started beginning was circles. And I actually really started enjoying it, making characters fall on top of circles, circles on top of characters. Like it became almost like drawing a flower bag. And so I would tell people, I'm like, draw circles. And obviously at that point they look at me and they're just like, they're so unimpressed looking. And I'm just like, there's value. I promise there's value. And they just walk away. And I'm like, no, there's value.
I did that when I was a little kid. I don't need that advice anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so next you're gonna tell me I should draw squares, and I'm like, yeah, you should.
Yeah. Have you? There's a thing called a parallelogram. It's really, really fun.
If
No,
you if you want to challenge yourself, you can draw an octagon. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
just add sides. The more sides you put in, the harder it gets. No,
Exactly.
it's funny because like when we teach freshmen drawing classes, one of the big things is talking about ellipses and just
Yeah.
it sounds so dumb. Like everybody should know what an ellipse is and how to draw a circle, but it does take time. It does take patience, and it does take a lot of skill to know exactly like what angle it needs to be at, and like little small things like that people take for granted and assume are maybe not as significant a portion of what someone does, like in character design. The idea of shape language and what's hidden behind a character is so important, especially for you were talking about animation side of things, like being able to hand off a character to someone and they can redraw it. Uh,
Yes.
Shape is the fundamental basis of that. That you have a shape that someone can understand and replicate. And if it's too complicated and too nuanced, then that becomes very hard and slows down production. Um,
Exactly.
there's all sorts of reasons to worry about simple, basic shape. Um, Now that being said, I ask students a lot of times. We talk about sort of every little kid has their favorite color, and they go like, "Oh, this is my favorite color. I like blue, or I like this." And you said circles seem to be the favorite shape, or what I'm assuming are the favorite shape that shows up. Is there a favorite type of line that you like? Is there a favorite type of like contrast? Like, do you like a real heavy contrast? Do you like a real light contrast? Do you like, what I mean? Like going back to those fundamental, formal sort of aesthetic things, are there certain things that you lean on as like, these are the things that are quintessentially you?
Quintessentially me, that took a while because I like many things. I think that was always my problem. It's like I liked many things and I always liked to challenge myself to see if I was capable of, in a way, doing it how I would like. But it took a while until I realized that my favorite line is a line that breathes. I like lines that don't feel like caught, which I think that, sorry, I saw like in chat, Carton asked like, which bird have you drawn in this stream so far that is your favorite?
Oh
Okay, just
yeah.
to digress quickly, I'm going to pick out my favorite. I'm gonna pick because
Well,
for some reason my brain must really love him because for some reason I gave him the most amount of space and I made everything circle him. So I'm like, clearly this is my favorite.
yeah, you can't just say which one you like. You got to say which one you like and why. Like, what is it? Because there's got to be more than just a like, this is the best one. There's got to be some reasoning in your head of why it's the best one, I assume. I mean, I could be wrong, but
Sometimes I feel like I'm not always aware what my favorite is until I look back and I see stuff like this where like I circled characters around it and I'm like, there's a reason, like you said, why do I like this? And I look at it and I'm like, because his arms are up and he looks super like wee. And I'm like, okay, that lines up. That lines up to how my brain is.
I mean, that's my most of the time my favorite things in my work are those like just it's some little nuance that's like, oh, I really like that moment of it and nothing else. Or like it's the thing that's insignificant that is the star for me. Um,
Yes, I'm very big on background characters. You know, sometimes in movies you see like this character doing something random in the background. Oh, I die laughing. I don't know why. I'm not even paying attention to the main characters. I'm paying attention to this weirdo in the background dancing. I'm like, it's great.
so tell me, okay, so like thinking of that idea of what makes you laugh, or what's enjoyable. Tell me a little bit about the process of making books. I mean, obviously your books have a little funniness to them, a little quirkiness, all that kind of stuff. What like is that something that you have to work hard to try to get to? Is that something that sort of comes naturally to um, your making process?
I think it comes more naturally the more I embrace who I am. That it's such a weird thing to say because it's pretty much just I think whatever tickles your soul is pretty much what will come naturally to you, and then that's what you will in a way create. So I think my books in a way are that reflection where I'm like, I just like things that are like whimsical, heartfelt, and kind of like just tickle you. They're just like fun little things that like hopefully make you think.
Yeah.
And I think that's always just how I am, like with anything I draw. I just like things that kind of give you a sense of comfort, a sense of whimsy, and a sense of like maybe if you look at it a bit longer, there's a deeper meaning to it, something that awakens something inside of you that makes you feel nostalgia.
That sounds so
I
deep.
think that's always what I'm kind of aiming for. I know it sounds so deep, right? Like, but I don't ever in it be like, oh, I must achieve this. I just put my feelings into it, and I hope when they look at it, they're like, it reminds them. Because you had said earlier, and I know we get distracted because I get distracted. I blame myself for like constantly derailing all our conversations.
No, good. Good. I like it.
You had mentioned way earlier, like if there was a piece that I to this day am very proud of. And it has to be my pumpkin and my ghost like running through like across this little stream. Um, and it's on my Instagram. It's like very old. I think maybe now it's 2 years old. And I look back and I'm like, there's something about this. And I think even if it's a pumpkin and it's a ghost, I think I feel like when I look at it, it's just like this feeling of like bliss and like nostalgia, potentially nostalgia, but I think just bliss. It just feels like something warm. And I think it like probably invokes something in everybody who sees it. There's just something fun. And whether or not people actually know what it invokes is another thing. But I like, it's just something where I look at it and I'm like, nailed it. Okay.
Yeah, you succeeded on that one thing, and you know it for a fact, and can
Yeah.
yeah. No, that idea of this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like a lot of artists don't give themselves credit for what they do. There's a lot of like, um, well, I mean, it's the same thing with me talking about the idea of the shirt, where it's like, uh, oh, I got it on sale, or I try to diminish it. That
Yeah.
rare for artists a lot of times, in my mind at least, to brag or to be proud of what they've done, and they often undersell or uh, don't speak highly of what they've done. And then there's those times where we all have that piece, and admittedly, I think we all do have that piece where we look at it and go, "Damn, that's good." Um,
Yeah.
I mean, there, and it may not be good to everybody. It may
Yeah.
not be everybody looks at it and goes like, "Yep, that's
That's the
perfect."
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's something about that piece that really like registers with us as it to the core of who we are. Like I have a piece that I still think is probably one of my better pieces at this point. It's just some dinosaurs partying, and I know it did not get the same amount of likes that it probably in my brain it should have had on the internet. but it's still,
Uh,
I think it speaks to a lot of different things that go through my head, and my mentality of like how I try to put together an image sort of shows up in it quite heavily. And so,
yeah,
you know, more power to you if you can find those moments that are speak to your truth. That sounds really smart that way to say it that way, so that's why I said it that way. Speak to your truth.
it's
Do you?
very smart, very
Uh,
wise, very deep.
yeah. One of the things that I do on here sometimes, and I want to delve a little bit into this because I've had people on from Montreal recently, and
Ooh,
there's lots of like what I like to call culture corner. Um,
right.
so you're up in Vermont, not Vermont. You're in Vancouver. It starts with a V. I knew it.
It's
Um,
okay.
but you're in Vancouver, and I know that Vancouver has like a big film scene, right? Like people go up there to shoot movies and things.
Yes,
Like that.
yes, yes, they do. When you said film scene, I was like, what do you mean? And then you were like, they come to shoot. I'm like, oh, yes, 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 they do. Yes,
Yes.
they do.
Um, but so that's about all I know about the city is that kind of level. I don't know a deep dive into how does Vancouver work. So for someone like me, an idiot like me who has never been to Vancouver, sell me on Vancouver. What's if I were to show up there, what's the first thing that I should do?
Oh, it's beautiful. Vancouver is beautiful. Let me tell you, because I actually used to live in Montreal for a while. Montreal is a hub for food. I will never not give them that. Food is fantastic. You've traveled outside Montreal, you go around Quebec, also beautiful. But Vancouver itself as well has its own beauty because all around Vancouver is mountains. Mountains, like literally, I can look out the window right now, mountain,
Okay.
snow-capped mountain, instantly just and you're surrounded by water, a lot of nature. So Vancouver is very active. They're in that sense. They're very like biking and jogging and like cycling, which is biking, but like roller skate. I know I said it twice. I'm like, what? Girl, that's the same thing. I'm like, yes. Anyway, so it's a very, in that sense, active. When it comes to events, less so. I wouldn't say it's a very event-driven city, but it's definitely more like you come here, hikes, enjoy the nature, enjoy the environment. Like you can literally travel up a road and you'll be like on top of this really tall hill, or maybe even in a mountain. You can see the next mountain over, and it's so breathtaking. Like it's not, if you're somebody who's like, I'm here to party, I'm here to like go to these events, I'll be like, you're gonna be bored. There's not too much. There's stuff, but it's not as
Unless
active as somewhere. Hmm?
unless those events are hosted by nature, by some like bear that's out in the woods, then you're gonna have
Exactly, yes,
yeah.
exactly. Unless we have a bear in the woods, like, serving up some shakes, just saying, like, we got an illustration idea right here. But unless it's that, for the most part, there's more beauty in the day going out, especially when it's not rainy season. Oh, the other thing about Vancouver is it rains here a lot, especially in the winter. In the winter, you can get like 3 months nonstop of rain, which is very different from 3 months nonstop of snow. Because snow, at least you have like brightness, sun sometimes, rain, cloudy, dreary, dark.
Well, how
But
far
what,
is Seattle?
how far is Seattle?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
I know. I mean, fair. Like I'm asking that question again, and you're just like, I asked you. Um,
I mean, I just think of like Vancouver being near Seattle, and so it becomes this like Seattle is so rainy all the time. Is it the same sort of
it
uh,
is.
climate?
It is. It is very much the same climate, if not a bit worse, because we're a bit more further north. But our weather is equally very mild. So when other places around Canada are burning, we are literally sitting comfortably at 16 degrees Celsius. So,
Which is what is that? It's like 60 degrees. If I
60 to 70 degrees, I would think, roughly Fahrenheit.
let's see, 16 twice is what is that? That's 32 plus another 30, so 62 degrees. I think. If I there's some equation that I tried to look up the other day, and I think that's about it, somewhere in that range. So I'm
We'll
gonna
go with that.
yeah, trust me on it. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine.
I've
It's
done the
good enough.
yeah, I've done the math. It works out.
Yeah.
Um,
Clear.
uh,
Perfect.
with the how's the art scene though out there? I mean, obviously, I know that there's the film scene that's in that region for a lot of things, but how's the art scene itself?
Um, hit and miss, honestly. I believe it had its time where it was more peak, but I think it's trying to make a comeback right now. So I would say currently it's trying to come back. I don't know if it's going to come back, but it's still pretty like not as strong as it used to be, for sure.
Now, when you say come back, meaning like uh, a, or I guess I'm trying to hit at the idea of what kind of art are we talking? Are we like,
Oh, so actually, there used to be like this whole area where like artists would just create, and it would be like anything. Like even there's a place called Granville Island, and they do host artists there, and there are artists who do metal work. There are artists who actually I don't know if this is artists, but I do think it's an artistry. They literally make like what they look like witches' brooms. I'm just gonna call them witches' brooms, but they look great. They're like, and they function. They're actually function like proper brooms, but they look like witches' brooms. They're like properly carved. They are
they don't
great. I love looking at them.
they don't actually function like a witch's broom though?
You can't fly them, no,
Yeah,
no, and they won't let you try,
they look like
unfortunately.
they actually function. It's like, hold on a second, because that's not
Yeah,
a.
I'm just flying around Vancouver. You'll catch me on a random Tuesday.
Um, so, in other words, like there's some craft element to a lot of the art that's, or at least that portion of it.
Yes.
There, is there a big like I know there's got to be a gallery somewhere in Vancouver, like some big museum of some sort. But is there a like a thriving gallery scene, or was there at some point?
I think there might be, but this one might also be a bit more out of my wheelhouse of knowledge. I feel like there might be because, oh, this is where like a true Vancouverite would need to come and take over this and be like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Let me educate you.
Yeah, old
So my
dummy
knowledge in
Vancouver.
this aspect is a bit
Um, and how long have you been there?
6 years now. I think close to 6 years now. Yeah.
Um, it's just one of those like the deeper you dive over time, sort of questions.
Yeah.
Um, and did you move? Did you, because originally you were in the U.S. at some point, then
Yes.
end up there? How did that occur? Was
Well,
that based?
actually, I was in Montreal before this because Montreal was the place for film, not
Uh,
necessarily film shooting, like as in like shooting the film and like, recordings and stuff, but more along the lines of it was the hub for VFX production.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I went there to work as an editor at, those big production houses for a while until COVID hit. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try this illustration thing. I'm gonna see if I can like do it.
now, when you were editing, what were you editing with? Like,
It pretty much it was Adobe Premiere Pro.
okay, so
Uh,
your hand at this point, you know how to operate Premiere, because like Premiere seems so. Premiere and After Effects, I do not get. Like I can futz around and pump out a video if need be, um, but there's so many bells and whistles in those things that I just don't. I never could latch on to all that was capable in those programs. But I assume you must know a ton of that stuff.
well, at the time, yes, I definitely knew the ins and outs, and I was uh, quite familiar with it. But there are times now where I will randomly like, I'll put together a reel to like promote my like a book or like I do a little bit of animation and then I have like so I don't have Premiere Pro anymore. I use like DaVinci, I believe is
Yep.
what it's called. DaVinci Resolve. It's like Premiere Pro in a way, but like they just have different shortcuts. But since I'm so um well versed or I still have a lot of knowledge from, I wouldn't say I'm that well versed anymore. It's been so long. My knowledge could easily be down the drain. And here I
Yeah.
am being like, I'm well versed. Like, are you sure? So, Da Vinci Resolve, it's just that their bells and whistles just chime differently. Like, so when you think you're hitting, like, for example, like the F, like you want to note like the F note or whatever, it turns out you're hitting A and it does, you want it to cut and it's not cutting. And then next thing you know, you accidentally close out the whole program and you're just hitting your head against the wall. But once you figure out which ones actually correlate to what you want, it's
Yeah,
pretty much the same.
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, were you a Final Cut user back in the day?
I did use Final Cut. I was not as knowledgeable. It was more like if you needed me to pop it in, do it real quick and just, finagle it and get it out there for review, I can do that. But if
Yeah.
you're telling me to, you want all the bells and whistles and make it pretty and glisten and all that, no, no, please.
What
I'm
about
gonna be here. I'm gonna be here for like way past what I should be working on.
Avid editing? Did you do any Avid editing?
I did very little.
Okay.
I did try to learn it, but then after that I never needed it again. So it really became something that fell off really, really fast.
That was when I worked in animation for years. That was what they used, was an Avid editor, and I feel like you never hear of people using it anymore, which I assume is there's probably a reason for it. In fact, I know there's probably a reason for it. But it's one of those ones where that one felt very like you had to be in industry in order to pick that up. That was not every person could have one of those
No.
like Premiere or things of the sort, and so it just sort of it's only people in the industry probably even know what that means. Or like when I used to teach animation, I would tell students, well, you need an Avid safe thing for your screen, and they would go, what's that? And I explained what it was, but I also had to explain what Avid editing was at the same time because they didn't know that term, let alone what an Avid safe was. So for those that don't know, Avid safe meaning a thing where like it's sort of like what a bleed is in a gutter line for picture books. Here's where the image is going to show up, and here's where stuff falls off the screen and things of that sort. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
pretty much your safe zone.
I'm just reading what my wife just said. I don't remember what I said bells and whistles to, but I said bells and whistles at some point. Um, so I,
It's okay. That's also how I work. People will be like, "That's a really nice." I'm like, "What?
yeah,
When?"
this is just our relationship at this point. Is she tells me something and I don't remember it, I just go, huh? We you watch trashy TV at all? I know this comes out of left field, but
The way she said their bells and whistles chime differently.
oh,
That was an artful way to.
you said bells and whistles chime differently. I there's a scratch on the screen, Lauren, and it says it looked like bells and whistles comes differently in the thing. That's why I misread it. Okay, sorry. See, she's already yelling at me upstairs. Yeah, she's saying you described it artfully, not me.
Oh, I did. I also don't know.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I didn't save you either.
yeah, no, it's fine. It's I have the tendency to not listen perfectly at this point in my life, and we have
That's fine.
lots of explaining. As I was asking about trashy TV, the equivalent of we will watch a very trashy show, and the next week after it's done, she'll go, "That's like that one person on the show," and she'll name them, and I have no idea who she's talking about. And like literally, we watched it the week before, and so
Yeah.
mush at this point. Um, with thinking future line, uh, what are some of the big goals? I mean, obviously, the industry right now is a little slower than what it once was, and so there's a lot of people sort of reflecting on sort of where they are, what they can do, um, what potential is for the future. And you even
Right.
mentioned if something else comes along that, like, who knows, maybe you jump on it.
Yeah.
Are there visions for your future of what you want to be doing? 5
No.
road.
No, I think like sometimes the future is almost too unknown. That sometimes I feel like a 5, 10 year plan, it's almost like it's stressful, but it's not just like, oh, it's stressful, so I don't want to do it. It's more like I don't want to set myself to have this goal of
Yeah.
like 5 to 10 years and then say I can't achieve it. It's like, well, it's okay if it takes me another 5 years after that, because sometimes goals don't set themselves in 5 to 10 years. Sometimes they take a little longer. Sometimes they come a bit quicker. So I kind of just leave it open to more like noticing my own shifts on like a daily, monthly basis where I'm like, am I still enjoying this? Is this something? Have I piqued interest in something else? Actually, recently I started pottery.
Mm.
So yeah, it's fun. I've realized like so it always makes it like the way people who do pottery, they always look so elegant doing it. Like it's just like and they make it look so easy because they're so skilled. And when I did it, I must tell you, I realized you must be violent with the clay. The clay must be smacked. And it's not as delicate and beautiful as you think it is. No, really, you need to like put some oomph in there and you need some muscles because like that clay needs to be told where to go because if you don't give it some of that push, that clay is just going to be like, well, I'm going to do what I want. And it's going to fly off the wheel.
Are you doing it, or do you have a location that you go to do?
Oh, I signed up for classes. I last like a while ago and classes just began like a week ago. My teacher is great. The class is filled with people who have no experience like myself, and then people with who have like they've already taken this class like 7 times because it's pretty much open to beginners and people who just kind of still see themselves as beginners.
Yeah.
So the teacher is very flexible in that regard, where they're like, oh, yeah, like, like I pretty much the first class give you guys a breakdown. And then after that, I leave it up to you, see where you're at, see what you want to do, see what you want to achieve. Basically, you just have to voice what you want, and she'll help you get there.
Yeah, she'll tailor it to your needs versus.
Exactly, and she also has like 30 years experience, so that's really great. The amount of times it's so funny. Sometimes I'll just make eye contact with her and she'll deadlock eye contact with me and we'll just be staring at each other for a while she's helping somebody else and then she'll come over and she'll be like, "You had a question?" And I'm like, "Are we reading each other's minds or were we trying to? Because I don't know what was happening."
Is this love? Are you talking about love?
Yeah, is this love?
Is
Is
this
this one of the really
this is
is it
your cute hair that shows up here?
the wind starts blowing and the music starts playing?
What's the song from Ghost? Uh I can't think of it now. From the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg and Demi Moore.
Oh, I can't remember.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, yes, I know what you're
Joke,
talking about.
the joke would have been so good if I could have remember what it was. Tinder, no, something.
You're asking the song or the
Yeah,
title?
the song.
Oh, Unchained Melody.
Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That starts coming on, and then you lock eyes, and then she goes, "Do you have a question?"
Yeah, right?
And ruins the moment. Uh,
It's like, well, the moment's over.
yeah,
It was nice while it lasted.
you have a question. Um,
No,
but
she's very nice. She comes to me and like I think she notices that like in groups I'm relatively soft spoken. So she'll just come over and she'll be like, "You have a question?" And I'm like, "Uh-huh." Like she'll just lock eyes with me and like now she'll just be like, "Do you have a question?" And I'm like, "Aw, she's noticing my patterns. That's really sweet."
she gets me. Um,
She gets me. Is it love?
of I dare you to say that to her next time that she comes over and says something just to go.
I bet she would roll with it. She would roll with it. So, and then she would leave me speechless and I would just be laughing. I'd be like, well, I have nothing to say now.
My wife and I, when the pandemic hit, we got into a little bit of our own pottery stuff where we bought, and I don't know if you've ever seen one, but a little miniature potter's wheel that
Yes,
is
I have.
Yeah, where like you make little pots that are the size of, like I don't know, it could hold a single flower or even less. And so like
Oh,
a single little violet could fit inside of it and whatnot. And we got into that for a while. And then we were talking about when the pandemic ended that we might go take some classes, and we still have yet to do that, but that is something that would be fun to do. But um, there is a temptation there to try it again at some point, just because there is that. It's like from what we did, even in our own house, was very very fun to play with that material as a whole. Now, admittedly, it was very messy too. Let's just say that. There you go.
yes.
Stephanie came in. Uh, I don't know if that was later. I just now noticed it, but it says Unchained Melody on on. So
Stephanie's in the
get with
chat
it.
trying to save us.
Yeah.
We're not even looking.
Yeah. It's either that or Stephanie's like a half an hour behind on what we're talking about. One of the two things. I'm not going to say which. Um, but so obviously, I asked the question about is there hopes and dreams, or is there a vision for the future? But there has to be at least some understanding of like a things that you want to accomplish. So like right now, pottery or ceramics or what have you is something that's fun. But are there other things that you're like, oh, it'd be really fun to try this thing in the future?
Not, I mean, okay, so there is one, but
Are you
I'm gonna
holding
have to
on?
pause it. I'm gonna have
Mhm.
to pause it because I have to go to the bathroom, and this is the perfect time because I can
Okay,
actually remember your
leave us, yeah,
question.
on a
Yeah,
cliffhanger. On a
I'll be
cliffhanger.
right back.
Okay, I'll hold everybody while you go.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, here's where the potty humor comes in, everybody. I need you to imagine what's going on. I don't want to do that. I was going to say, imagine what's going on in the bathroom. Um, but we won't do that. That's rude. That's rude to do. We don't need to do that of any sort.
If you're going only till 6 or not.
Um, yeah, my wife is asking me about time, so let me answer that question. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this done in that time, Lauren. So I will try my best, but I can't guarantee. We're trying to figure out schedule, basically, is what it comes down to on this end. So I'm drawing. This is essentially for those that don't know what I'm doing, again, I'm going to throw this down here on screen. It's a person showing up and getting flowers from a loved one, and it's two young kids giving flowers or giving a flower to another kid, and it's in celebration of Pride Month for next month. It's coming up, so I'm trying to hit at that idea of love is love no matter who you are and who you love. And so I'm just trying to get this sidewalk-esque looking little roundabout in here, and then I got to do all the flowers, which I'm going to do pretty big in this in the end. But again, if you have questions, feel free to ask those questions as we go along. Wait, I hope she comes back with water so we can make jokes. Wait, my wife says, by the way, these get posted on YouTube later, so it's a good place to catch old episodes. Yeah, so anybody who's listening to this, we are doing we post those generally about once a week. I try to get those up, and the other thing that's going to come into play is we might change the format ever so slightly in the future. It's still going to be lots of guest artists, and it's still going to be drawing, but there might be one day a month we do something a little different that I think people will want to tune in for, just to spice things up. In the meantime, again, if you have questions, if you have concerns, I don't know why you would have concerns, but if you have concerns, yeah, you're listening in now. You see,
I didn't want to interrupt, but
no,
then you were like, I don't know why you would have concerns.
yeah,
Funny.
I'm so used to on the emails for like people. I always say,
Yes, exactly.
I say if you have questions or concerns, just email me, and so that was like naturally it came out. Okay, let's ask that question because again, these conversations couldn't go any which way, and there was a time where when I was young, and it still haunts me to this day, that I went into a donut shop where I used to live in Minnesota, and I worked at the movie theater, and one of the things we had to say to every customer that came into the movie theater was, thank you, enjoy the show. And
Okay.
so I went and I got donuts at this shop for, I don't remember if it was like for the family or what, but the person said thank you. And my response was, I turned around to them and said, enjoy the show. And, and looking at it, it's sort of, for them, they didn't know I worked in a movie theater, but also it could be this like, have a nice view of my butt as I walk out the door, because I turned around and walked out. No, I shouldn't have shantaed as I went. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have really jazzed up my walk as I went out the door. But
Oh, I love that.
it's one of those moments where like I regret it to this day, and I remember the exact location. I remember what order I had even in that location. So when I say it haunts me to this day, I really do mean it haunts me to this day that I said enjoy the show to this person.
No,
Uh,
I think that's great. I think it's actually really normal because I had something similar. I didn't
yep.
have as much of a rooted history. Mine was just one of those days where like I was tired. I wasn't really thinking straight and my brain was on autopilot. So I go to pay for my meal. Like I went out eating with friends, I go to pay for my meal. And the usual that they usually say is like either how's the meal or how are you, which my default when I'm half asleep and half braining is good. So I thought they were going to say that, and I was preemptively, I thought that's what I heard. And then afterwards, because I thought that's what was happening, but afterwards, when I processed it in that split second after I said good, I realized what they said was credit or debit. I went good. And
Did
I
they
just stood there because I still had to pay. I still had to do everything. So I just stood there staring at them and I was like, I'm sorry, what?
like debit or credit, lady? What's wrong with you? Good. It also depends on the tone too. If you said it where it was clearly you were like looking a different direction and saying, good, like it seems like you weren't connecting to what they were saying. But if you literally looked at them and just said good, and
I feel like that's what I did. So when you say it haunts you, I'm like, I don't know if this haunts me or just whenever I think about it, I just shake my head and laugh because I was like, why am I like this? Like, really, like I look at other people and be like, why? Like I say to my friends, like, why are you like this? But then I look at myself and go, why am I like this?
no, I see. I have the problem. I like to talk, but in certain situations, there are times where it gets like I put my foot in my mouth, and I'm always worried that I'm going to do it again and again. And the example I give was so with the teaching I do at college level, I have to go to the commencement every year. And in that commencement process, we give out awards. And so, like, as the illustration department, we vote on someone to give the senior illustration award to. And
Okay.
we bring them up on stage. And generally, people say a nice little spiel about who this person is and why they deserve this award. And there was one year where I was doing it, and I was the chair of the department at the time. And so we had this vote, and we chose this person. And I still remember her name. She's a lovely artist named Maura O'Connor. You can find
Mm.
her. I think it's Maura O'Connor Art on Instagram or something of the sort. And she won the award that year. And what I did was I got up, and instead of just giving a speech saying, "Hey, Maura has really lovely work, and we voted for her because we liked her work," or anything of the sort, instead, what I said was, I remember the first day of class or the first weeks of class with the student, and admittedly, their work wasn't very good.
Oh,
And what I wanted to say, I was basically saying they've improved so much throughout the year, but I
right.
say it in a way where I literally said their work wasn't very good. Uh, but little he decided to throw that in and came up to the stage because they come up on stage and we shake their hand and whatnot. She came up on stage and I leaned in to give her a hug and everything, and I just said, "I just threw you under the bus, didn't I?" And she looked at
Yes.
me and, "Yep." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." And she knew being an idiot. That's the way that I operate. But again, it's one of those ones where like I didn't know what I said until after I said it, and so I'm always worried that in these situations where I'm speaking in public, that I'm going to say something and then regret it after the fact, because someone points out like, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that. That was a dumb thing to say." Um,
I think
but
that's normal though. I think
well,
it's normal to not always know, or like sometimes in like, we say things because in our hearts we really mean it in a good way, but then it comes out not great. I
yeah,
think in today's world sometimes we just take it too seriously. Like sometimes it's like that. Like I think we just give ourselves a little bit more grace is pretty much what I'm just trying to say. We all make blunders. We all say things like where it comes off a bit like, what do you mean? And it's like, oh no, it's not that. It really is not that deep. It's just like, great. Now I dug myself a grave.
yeah. I think part of the challenge though is the way that I like to do speeches. I don't like doing a speech wherein I have to write a speech. I like when I do a speech to just wing it, and
Oh yeah.
not everybody likes that. And I understand it's not for everybody, but it's the way that I operate. If I have to plan out a speech, it's going to feel really canned and gross. Uh,
Yep.
so I always just wing it. The problem is when I wing it, I don't know exactly what I've said until I've said it. And I always worry that I'm going to overstep that bound or I'm going to say something that's inappropriate. Or like when I'm meeting with little kids, I'm always worried that I'm going to swear. Even though I don't do a lot of swearing,
Yep.
I'm still worried that that's going to come out in some shape or form. And I'm going to have to pay the price for swearing in front of a bunch of kids, if that makes any sense. Um,
Oh no, yeah.
that haunts me a little bit at this point. But it's not. Again, it's not. It's never happened, and I'm probably overthinking it. But at some point, I am going to overstep those bounds and say something that is inappropriate. And I'm sure that they've had that happen before in those situations. So it's probably not the worst thing in the world if someone swore in a elementary school, as long as they very quickly address it and clean.
Oh yeah.
Do you do school
I
visit
think
point?
I started, so I did one, and
Oh,
it
that's
was very nice. It was uh the kids were lovely, the teachers were lovely, everybody was lovely. The kids, oh my God, some of them were so cute. They were so stinking cute. I was like, I can't. Like, they raise their hands and I'm like, why are you so cute? My goodness. Like, and they were all very excitable. It was a great time, but I definitely feel you. Like sometimes even when I get too excited, I'm like, do not say something that will put you in a. But one thing obviously I did the whole time, which was mispronouncing names. Oh, that was lovely. Just kept mispronouncing all of them, and I was like, I am a terrible person. I
wait.
am terrible.
Mispronouncing the kids' names?
Yeah, mispronouncing the kids' names because some names are uh like the vowels don't always get pronounced, or like it's
Oh,
actually more than what's like. I don't. The word eludes me.
I got you. I got you in the sense of what.
Yeah,
Um,
but like they're all lovely. All the kids are lovely, and here I am being like lovely people all around me, and I can't even pronounce your name right. Oh my God.
well, maybe they don't deserve it. Maybe they, if they're gonna walk in there with an attitude about their name, they don't deserve to be appreciated.
What?
I don't know.
They were lovely.
Yeah. I was,
No, they everyone was great, and like it was like K through 3. So you had like the really, really young ones, and then you had the older ones, and like I don't know. But everybody was like you said in earlier, how like you're like you critique yourself so much, and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to draw that. But the kids are sitting there being like, oh my God, I love it. It's so cute. And in my head, I look at like because I was using a whiteboard, so I decided I decided I wanted this to be more hands-on. So I used a whiteboard for my presentation versus
yeah.
putting together a PowerPoint.
Yep.
And so I was drawing on, like, I was talking on the whiteboard, using the whiteboard to, like, talk and what. And then one of the kids' questions was like, can you draw for us? And I was like, yeah, what do you want me to draw? And so we made a list of like 3, 4 things. And each of the things I drew, one of them was like, draw a chicken. And my brain was like, I don't remember how. And I said this to them. I'm like, I don't remember how chickens look. I do not remember how chickens look. So I just did my best and they loved it. And I'm like, this is who we're drawing for. We're drawing for kids. As long as kids love it, I think we're doing great.
Yeah.
That was it. I was like, I loved that visit because I'm like, and the funny thing is also kids will say the darnest things, and I'm like, really, really, I love y'all. You're all so funny. My goodness.
Um, the event that I did last Monday, there was I drew some stuff, and the kids very quickly pointed out how wrong it was. They're like, "Well, They asked me to draw a fox, and for some reason, foxes are really hard for me to draw. Like same thing with foxes, wolves, tigers. There's something about the shape of the face that I can't quite figure out. And so I generalize it. And the problem is, in generalizing, it can start to look a lot like um, other critters. And so I guess I drew a fox that looked more like a wolf, and that kid would not let me. That's a wolf. You drew a wolf, and I'm like, it's close enough. It's fine, kid. Did wrong. Um, I mean, there's always those kids that do that side of it, but for the most part, they're all. And that kid was fine. I've done that before. It's not a big deal, um, but doing those kid visits are so fun. My one today, they were like the most well behaved.
Oh, were they all quiet?
They were very quiet. It was a fifth grade,
Oh,
and
fifth grade. Okay.
but they were also the fifth grade in this case is in a middle school because of space.
Oh,
So I think
right.
it edges them up age wise, so they're not as caught up in like. I mean, of course, there were some silly questions or some like silliness that happened, but not on the same level that I've seen before in other schools. And so
Right.
I think they were sort of like they must be more mature because of the environment they were in. But it was a lovely group of kids. And yeah, one of the things they had, which I've never seen, and it sounds like I don't know if this is uh, too foreign to you here in this case, but the kids were all sitting in seats versus on the ground because
Oh, really?
because it was a middle school. The idea that they sit on the floor was sort of not
Oh, okay. Oh,
part of
no,
it.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah.
And so when I did it, I think that also added to their like maturity level, uh, or yeah, whatever sense of maturity level there is at that age. But
I
it was,
mean, poop jokes are still funny at that age. Let's be
oh yeah,
honest.
yes. I mean, I have a book called Poop, and that book, every time a kid sees it, generally it's can you read that book? Can you read that book?
Yep.
Because I open up my iPad to like um, the what do I want to say the book app or whatever that's called, um, and they always see that book, and of course that becomes you got to read that one. But this time, not a word, not a peep out of them. No,
Oh,
no, can you read that poop book? Is there they
oh,
impress each other and be like, I'm cool, I'm mature. Poop is
oh, okay.
that's my theory. They were trying to like elevate their themselves to be proper young children. Um,
I mean, fair. I remember fifth grade, I was like, I am an adult. I was not, but it's a mentality.
you you learn to mature real quick at a certain age, and I feel like middle school is that age for the most part.
Yeah.
Is there well, let me. Okay, this is gonna be weird. Middle school, weird years, right?
Yes.
Um, odd times for most people. Did you have those awkward years
Oh,
and
yeah.
memories from those awkward years that you're willing to share?
No. I will not share. They're, oh, just thinking about them, I'm like, they're so cringe. They're so cringe. I'm like, to some degree, I still think I'm like kind of cringe, but those were just the epitome of like, I look back and, oh, it was so dramatic. I'm like, the levels of drama were just, I can replay scenarios in my head where I'm like, if current me went back to younger me, current me would just sit there and be like, I hear you. I get it. Girl, dial it back though. My God, what?
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna regret this later in life, or you're gonna look at
Yeah,
it
like
and know that you.
just nobody's gonna remember this as much as you, and trust me, you will remember it and you will cringe every time, forever. Think about that. Think about that.
Like, I'm trying to think, like, I know that I had some awkward times in that range, and I think one of the it's weird. It's one of those ones where like the thing that is the most cringy for me out of all of that, and this will probably not make sense to a lot of folks, or at least does not hurt a adult the way that it hurts a kid. But there was a day in seventh grade that I remember being so proud of this shirt that I got. And it was just this plaid button up shirt. And I don't know why, as a seventh grader, I was wearing button up shirts. Like that feels sort of uh, too mature. Like I should have probably just been in t-shirts, but whatever reason. Um, and I walked into this class, and it was my social studies class. I remember it was on the far side of the building. Like I remember all these details that I shouldn't remember at this point in my life. And I was so excited to show off this shirt to my friends because I thought it was so cool looking. And then the teacher walked in the classroom, and the teacher was wearing the exact same shirt.
No.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
An
I mean,
old,
like,
it was an
oh my
old
gosh.
it was an old man teacher too. And I know he was an old man. He was not like he was in his like 60s at this point. And so like the coolness factor of this shirt that I had taken all this time to hunt down, wear into school, disappeared in a matter of seconds.
No, I mean, like, I know now as adults, we would probably have no problem. I would have no problem matching a teacher. I'd be like, oh my God, twins.
Yeah.
That's so. But as a kid, that is like social suicide. You're just like, I, can I change classes?
Mm-hmm. Like I'm learning for my lifetime. I never want to see a social studies book again. This is not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember that same classroom. I stepped out to use the restroom, and I don't know were you in the States during middle school era, or were you in
Yeah.
you
No,
were,
I was in the States during middle
okay.
school era.
So I don't know if this it was like a age thing, but we used to have I don't can you see the screen right now? Like
Yes.
age? Okay, I'm gonna draw this real quick for you because I think this will make sense to people if I draw this out. There was this sink that we had that was like a half circle, and it would come up and it would have this little like um, piece on top, and it had little dots, like little holes or spouts around it. And what it was this big basin with a
Okay.
step on the bottom of it, and you would step on this little bar,
Yeah. To make the water
water
come out.
spray out of those.
Yep.
There was a time where we had powdered soap. You just had a little box, and you would shake out some powder on your hands and then get your hands wet. And this kid, TJ Decker, I remember his name. If anybody knows TJ Decker, you can hunt him down for me. Came washing my hands after going to the bathroom, and TJ Decker stepped on that little bar at the bottom, and that water shot out of that so fast that it went over the edge and wet my entire pants. And it was just the right height. And so I had to walk back into class with a wet crotch after going.
No.
Mm.
No. 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 Oh my God, did they feel bad or did they just like
No, he intentionally did it, so he thought it was fun.
oh no. No, no.
Um, and
Oh my goodness.
it kind of is funny, but at that age,
It was
again,
not funny.
it was
Yeah.
not funny to walk back into a room making it look like I peed my pants. Uh, Now, would I do that to my son? Absolutely. Because
Yep.
does he need to learn the lesson? Yes, he needs to learn the lesson. The lesson,
He must. He
yeah,
must. He
yeah,
must know so we could share in this nostalgia of happened to you, but at least I was there. It happened to me from a random person I didn't like.
yeah. It's a rites of passage thing that he must go through at some point. Um,
It's a rite of passage in this household.
were you cool in high school then?
No, I was not cool. I don't think I've ever been cool. I've never been cool.
No, I have no way to disagree with that or to come to your aid and say, oh, of course you were. So I just
No,
have,
it's okay. You don't have to come. You don't have to come to my aid. You can just agree and just be like, yeah, I would agree with that. And I'd be like, yep.
yeah, I'm taking that on faith. Yeah, you're a real loser is what I heard. Um, Yeah,
I
word
mean,
got
like,
oh, yeah.
sometimes I almost feel like if you were a loser, at least you still were somebody. I think I fell into that void of nothing. That's where I lived.
I'm sure you were cool. You probably had some cool vibe that showed up.
I had some cool friends. I did have some cool friends. I was not cool, but some of the friends I had, there was one, I'll never forget her name, Artisha Chen. Chen? Okay, maybe the last name I don't remember. Um, but she did b-boying and like could
Oh.
break dance, and she played basketball, and she was really good at it, and she was just amazing. And I was like, and she knew who I was. And I was like, how do you know who I am? And she would say hi to me in the hallways. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I
Ali-
am unworthy.
Is it Alicia? Is that what you said?
What?
Alicia? That was the name?
It was
Artisha?
either Alicia. Oh gosh, now I can't remember. It's either Artisha or Alicia, or now maybe I'm remembering it wrong completely.
Artesia sounds, yeah, pretty cool right off the bat because of b-boy stuff.
Yep.
Or any sort of cool hip hop stuff automatically gets a pass. But then the fact that she knew who you were, even
I
cool.
know. Right? Automatically, it's like, oh, you gave me a bit of that?
Hmm.
Oh my, I don't know what to do with this. But then I had other friends who like knew everybody, and then they would still hang out with me, and I'm like, why are you hanging out with me?
Friends that knew everything would still hang out with you is such a sad statement. Um,
Oh no, I hope I did. Okay, like, may they never find this video.
there, I have these people
Uh,
and into hanging out with me. Oh man. Um, were you into like? Did you take art classes when you were in high school?
I mean, we had those forced art classes. Oh no, 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 that was elementary school. High school, no. High school, okay. So apologies to my Chinese teacher. I spent my entire Chinese 7 years. 7 years. I spent 7 years. So that means like elementary, middle school, high school. I had a different Chinese teacher each time, so I apologize to all of them. I spent all my Chinese classes drawing, all of them. And I was drawing anime characters all the time because my friend in the class, so this didn't, oh no, yeah. So my friend, one of my close friends, she actually transferred from another school. So I met her during my high school. And at the time, me and my other friend were already drawing all the time. But when my friend who transferred came and she started Chinese class with us, instantly I told her, I was like, we're gonna be friends. I don't know where that confidence came from, but I was like, we're gonna be friends. And she looked at me like so disgusted, and I was like, yep, that's fine. We're still gonna be friends. Again, I don't know where that confidence came from. And we actually became the best of friends, and we drew all the time in Chinese class. Now, granted, my friend actually knew Chinese. She spoke Chinese at home. She was just getting better at um, her opinion as well as like her characters, writing, and all that stuff. Me, no. I retained so little, which is so bad because every time I go back to Singapore, they always love to see how much, like, they
Yeah,
always love to have me practice. And I am not even elementary level and like at all. So it's really like very, very broken. But they still love it. So I still try, but I'm still embarrassed because, you know, I don't know why. I just have that like language barrier that they're more than willing to watch me struggle and I am just embarrassed. But
they
at
are.
least I can say I did something with my drawing. So, to my Chinese teachers, at least I did something with it. So it was not a complete waste, though I apologize already. I do very much apologize.
They knew that you were drawing the whole time.
They definitely knew. They were very sweet. They were all very sweet to me, but I could tell they were doing their best to kind of politely tell me, like, can you not? And I'm like, okay, but listen, I get my homework done and I still do relatively well on the tests. So it's fine. And they're like, no, that's not that. No,
You do really well on a test, so can you not? And then ask them to walk away. Um, there, with that idea of sort of drawing in your sketchbook, has that been a thing for since you can remember that idea of like not paying attention and drawing and doing other things that potentially you're not supposed to be doing, or is that a um, a just a school type sort of treatment?
Good question. I feel like it's definitely a always been there kind of thing.
Okay. Ooh.
Definitely always been there. There's times, I think the older I get though, the more I know when I need to focus, obviously, because you can't just talk to people and do something else all the time. Unlike, this lovely conversation we're having where we can do drawing and talking. Most of the time you cannot. So you do have to, give people your undivided attention, listen to their, what they're sharing, and that way you can chime in. School, younger me was definitely not very good at that. Younger me was more like, uh-huh, la 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 la.
That very very quickly. But you got
Yeah,
grades though.
I
So
got
you
good grades.
got good.
And that was something that my Chinese class did not like was I walked out so senior year at my school, they were like, if you get A, like if your final grade for the year is an A collectively, you do not have to take the final test. So in Chinese class, I got an A at the end of the year because I did all my homework. I did do everything the teacher asked of me to, and I did relatively well on all my tests. So before the final test, she basically tells everybody whether you have to come or not. And she told me, she's like, you don't have to come. She just told me, like, she tells us all in private. And so on the day of the test, my class, I was told by my friend who had to take the test, uh, was not happy. They were livid because they're like, how is she excused? All she does is draw.
Ah.
And yep. And
Uh,
I remember just I was satisfied. I was like, I did what was asked of me. I did it well. And yes, I also drew. But the thing was, I'm like, but at the end of the day, did I learn Chinese? No, I did not learn Chinese. So even though I got an A,
yeah.
learning wise, I didn't learn that's why I said, like, as a kid, I was good at getting good grades. But learning was, I think, a different hurdle in itself. And there were some classes that I actually learned, and those were because to me they were easy, like math. I can't do math anymore, but back then I was really good at math because it was structurally very easy. You could also check your work. I
With
also really liked history, so history was actually a class I enjoyed learning about. But most other classes I just became really good at test taking, except for science. Terrible. I was terrible at it. I could not retain any information. What goes inside of an amoeba? I don't know. What cell is this? I don't know. Plant cell? What I don't know. They all look the same to me.
Yeah, no, that I don't think that's unheard of. Like I was in AP biology and was supposed to be in AP chemistry and physics and whatnot, and opted out of them because it was not my cup of tea to like. If I could study, I could study and I could learn the material, but outside of that, there was no retention. And so
Yes.
I like art history. I took a bunch of art history and stuff when I was in college. Couldn't name you. I can name a few artists, but if you showed me a famous like sculpture or whatever that everybody should know, I would have no clue. I would have no ability to explain who it is, what its relationship is to anything at this point. It's
Yep.
just it all disappeared very easily after the fact. Um,
Yep. I
with
traded all my knowledge, all my math knowledge, I traded it all for art knowledge. Shapes, circles, squares.
for circles, I traded it all for
Yep.
circles. Circles to
All
focus.
for the circles. I mean, we love circles, so like it wasn't a bad trade, except when my dad likes to come and my dad is very good at math. Funny enough, he is actually very good at math. He's very good at mental math. He can do mental math, and he'll quiz me sometimes. He'll be like, because I'll be like, this is, and he'll be like, come on, this and this. He'll even do it for like the temperature. He'll be like, come on, you just take this, this, and this, and I'll be like you can literally see the loading bar on top of my head, and then you can, like, do you remember dial-up? That dial-up tone?
Yeah, of course.
Yep, that's literally what happens. Like there's just silence, but every in my head I can hear the dial-up tone. I'm like, Ding, ding, ding.
That,
Yeah,
that, that'd be, oh,
get
I
there eventually.
upset my dogs when I made that noise. One of the dogs upstairs jumped a little bit
Oh
there.
no,
No,
the dog was not happy.
I think it's my parents-in-law are coming over, and that may be the uh,
Oh,
being outside.
excited.
Yeah, the dogs, sure. They're a mess. Herbs. They're both Chihuahuas mixes, so they both have
Oh,
jumpy.
oh, the loud one.
Yeah. Well, and one of them's also, we think, pretty much deaf, and so
Okay,
she barks at silence, or sometimes we refer to it as ghosts.
right.
That these ghosts, and we just don't know it, and that explains some of her idiocy. Um, that that's a different one bark there, though. I don't know if you can hear that. Um, she's oh no, that's her. That's her. That's the dumb one. That's Noodle. Her. We also think that might. Someone said that maybe she. Oh, what was it? What was the thing that they mentioned? That I joked that she maybe had a lack of oxygen when she was born, and that explains
Oh,
her smarts, because she is not smart whatsoever.
oh no,
Very
poor
dumb dog.
baby.
The other one is very smart by comparison, and so they get along somewhat. Let's put it that way. Do you have pets?
No, I don't. I used to have a little black cat.
Mm.
I miss her, but I've
Well,
never gotten a pet since, mostly because, sad to say, I realize what it's like to sleep without them. And I'm like, oh, I actually am somebody who needs sleep.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. So I'm literally torn because I want to get another like cat or even a dog this time. But I do know the amount of dedication I would need to give to it, including relenting some of my sleep. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I can forego it just yet.
I mean, eventually you get a dog and you can just keep him on the floor. A cat's a different story. A cat won't jump up in your bed, and you don't really have a choice at that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, to be fair, my heart also would just see the dog on the floor and I'd be like, you want to come
Yeah,
in?
yeah. That was originally when we got our dogs. We were thinking like, oh, we have two cats. Finally, the cats can have their space and whatnot. And then eventually it turned into, now one of the dogs sleeps next to my head, and the other dog sleeps next to my wife, and
Yep.
it's dog territory.
Yep.
Especially because they're little. Um, but yeah, it's very hard to see them crying on the floor, wanting attention of sorts.
Yeah, they look at you with those big eyes and they just like sometimes when I go out on walks, because also that's another thing in Vancouver, a lot of people have dogs. So you'll go out on walks and like, dogs will be walking and like I'll just be walking by and the dog will just look at me like it just looks at me like, can I come near you? Like the dog just makes eye contact and I'm like, you have an owner. You have an owner. Please do not come near me because you're too cute.
Yeah,
You're too cute.
you will steal. Said no. You will come home.
Low key, just like
Yeah.
yoink.
This this is. I don't know if the decision you're making is correct, because your ability to return to your home will be diminished should you.
Exactly. It's like, are you sure?
Come.
Some of them are smart though. Some of them will come up to me, smell me, look at me, and walk away. I'm like, smart. Good choice. Good choice. Leave before I get committed.
You don't get offended by that. You're not like,
No,
oh,
I just think they're curious. I'm like, oh, you're just wondering what I am. All right. All right. I see how it is. I mean, I guess, yeah, a bit offended because then my brain goes, I see how it is. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I see how it is. You think I'm disgusting, and you walked away. Um, with studio too. Is your studio in your house?
Yes.
Um, and so you have lots of like, I mean, obviously you have lots of artwork and things lying around and populating space, but
Yeah.
that's the with pets, is they want to get involved in that. They want to be participants in
Ah, yes.
that.
Yes. Yes.
So
And they want to make sure they make an imprint on it. Like,
yes,
my favorite is watching my paper that was once pristine now have a foot dent in it that is specifically cat shaped.
oh yes, I've had my cat walk through paint and then across things in my studio that will never not have a footprint on them again. Um, and it's as long as it's not on my finished artwork, then I'm okay. But if it's on the finished artwork, then I have a problem. And so I'm very careful.
Rightfully so.
Like I don't leave out finished art for them to walk across. And so hopefully that solves a good portion of that. But you never know. You never know with
You
kids.
never know. Yeah,
Um,
they're very crafty. They can get into drawers that you've closed and they somehow opened it and
oh,
now they're just pulling things out.
that's I don't know. That speaks so true to we have my wife and I will wake up and our socks will be all over the floor because our cats will open up. Like if our dresser is slightly open of any sort, it's called time to pull out every sock that's in the drawer, whether we need it or not, and dump it on the ground. And it's so frustrating to have to deal with that on a regular basis. And so, like, there's mornings where you wake up and it's just literally every sock you own is strewn across the bedroom because of one stupid cat. And I know which cat it is, too. It's
You always know which one it is because they always look guilty.
mm-hmm.
They're like either guilty or you can't find them for some reason. Like they're always waiting for you. I had that with my black cat. She'd always wait for me right at the door, always. And then whenever she wouldn't wait for me at the door, I would immediately go looking around, being like, what did you do? What's out of place? What did you get into? And I'd always find something. And then I'd be like, where are you? And
Is
I
that
always,
is that same
little
like
pixie head.
being too
Hmm?
quiet? With a kid being too
Yes,
quiet, where it's like they finally start to fall asleep during a nap, and you're like, why are they? Something's up. And half the time nothing really is an issue, but you assume because that kid should not be that quiet that long of sorts. I just realized it's going to take forever to draw all this grass in this thing, but we're going to get it done.
yeah.
Um, oh, they already left. I'm like, why is it so quiet upstairs? And it's because my wife went out to a my son's violin concert, and so
Oh,
she's off listening to my son make wonderful music with his friends. Let's put it that way. Uh,
are you sure you didn't have to go to that?
no, it's fine. I knew this was coming up, and I told my wife that it will. I'm not going to jump away from Gavin Doodle in the middle. It's too hard. By the time I would get there, it would be over. So it's not even a question.
Fair. Okay, that's fair.
She had to get a ride with the family members who will take her there and take them out to dinner. And so
Ooh.
I will maybe meet up with them, but that's still another hour away. With some of the work that you do, I mean, obviously you've been writing too. So the one that sort of I knew you for originally was the Zombie and Brain Are Friends,
Yep.
which written by Stephanie. But then you also have the other two that I have here. You have the Mau Mau's Perfectly Imperfect Day and Somewhere in Between. And so writing is part of your practice as well. Can you tell me a little bit about the, how writing sort of came to be? Are you someone that naturally writes? Is this something that, you had to really work at to get writing out? Is this something that, sort of walk me through that a little bit?
So writing for me was always something I never really perceived for me, like I never thought I was good at. Mostly because in school, every time it came to English class, my grades were not great, and I struggled to do essays and those kind of writing practices. But one thing I really enjoyed that I felt I had the most joy in was creative writing.
Okay.
And it wasn't until my first year of college that I luckily had an adjunct because they force you to take like writing 101, like you have to write. And I was like, oh, more essays? Like, oh gosh, like I'm not good at essays. I think mostly because I think they're boring and tediously unnecessary. They're necessary in crafting, I think, your brain to put things together, but in practice, like in the actual doing of it, I did not enjoy it. So I luckily got a teacher, an adjunct professor in my writing 101 class who literally was like, the first day we went into class and I was just sitting there being like, okay. And he came in and he was like, your task this whole year is every week you write whatever you want, whatever lights your soul on fire. You write whatever you want, and every week you bring it in exactly at when class starts. You do have to come in, you do have to drop it off, and then you can leave. That's it. We're, I don't actually even remember what this professor did, but the fact that they're adjunct means that they work outside of the school as well. So that's what I did. Every week, I chose to just write about. I did my creative writing. I told stories. I wrote whatever I felt like writing, and it was always short stories. I always wrote short stories because a week is not long enough to write a novel as well as do all the other homework that is required of you. So I would just focus on short stories because also I did not have the attention span to write a novel. I still don't think I do have the attention span to write a novel. Um, and something that, like, so the teacher would just keep taking it, and every time, I don't even remember if the teacher ever gave it back necessarily, but come the final, uh, like the final, so
Yeah.
final class and like finals and we went to class because the teacher told us next class come and I'm going to give you back all your papers and stuff. And he's like, once I give you back all your papers, he's like, there is no final exam. Your final exam is the same as what you've been doing this whole time. Write what lights your soul up on fire. Like if you want to do creative, you want to do I forget all the other writing styles just left my brain, like journalism or whatever it is that you wish to write, poetry. So the
Yeah.
last class we went and he gave us back all our papers. And this could be me misremembering this part, like if he gave it back or not, or when he gave it back. But one thing I distinctly remember was he told me that he hoped that I never stop writing and that he really always enjoyed my stories. And that stuck with me because I never really thought of myself as a good writer. And I had another instance in high school. I had this really hard teacher. She was notoriously, not because I thought she was hard, because I didn't have her yet, but she was just notoriously known to be a hard English teacher. I actually had two hard English teachers. I lucked out in high school. I had the two hardest English teachers.
Hmm.
The person who literally, like, I was the epitome of run-on sentences, like fragmented sentences. What is this even? So I was like, great. But one thing that stood out to me with both my teachers is both of them liked or one of them, the harder one, or the one that everybody deemed the harder one. She liked my creative stories, and she told me that. She actually gave me an A because one of our assignments was literally just tell a story, and she was not going to grade it on anything else other than the story. She's like, I'm just going to read the story. And I was like, okay, which is
Yeah.
great because grammatically I was not great.
Yeah.
And
Random
she
situation, and you didn't have a copy editor at the time to take care of all.
exactly no, but no, yeah. So she gave it back, and she actually told me that she loved my stories as well. And so when I had that professor in college, it gave me the confidence in a way to keep writing. But the thing was, it took me many years after that to write my own stories because I didn't. I was more focused on art and figuring out what I wanted to do and, then my job and like all that stuff. So when Jem took me on, so my agent Jem, she took me on. She actually told me, she's like, um, if you ever want to write your own stories, go for it. And I was like, you mean I can just do it? And she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, if you want, if like, she's like, but no pressure. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of like what kicked it off, and definitely something that I've enjoyed is just telling all these short little stories, which I have so many more. Jem's like literally sitting on two picture books in her, like from me that I've written, one of which I would love if it, like when the time comes, whenever the time comes, that if it does sell or if it does get out there, I would love to turn it into a watercolored picture book.
So does
And
in that case, when she took you on, then that means that she did not take you on as a author specific or as an author illustrator. She took you on as just a illustrator.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
But now she just has a bunch of things from me. We have a couple of things out on sub and like things just sitting with her. And honestly, I'm like, I still, in my own spare time, anytime I think of a story, I just write it and then I just like leave it in like my little folder of like ideas. Or sometimes like if I really like an idea, I'll write it down and then I'll revisit it later being like, does this have merit still? Sometimes if I really, really love an idea, I'll just go for it and I'll draft the whole thing out. And that for me is really fun, but I'm definitely, I think you said it before on one of your other lives, like you're definitely somebody who, or you said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you're here, um, you enjoy the ideation of it all
Yes.
more so than the completion of it, which
Yeah.
I definitely also find myself in that same realm where I love the crafting of it, starting from nothing and building it into something. And then as soon as we get into final, I'm like, oh God.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I am someone who like the idea process is the fun part. The actual production or the finessing something is not my cup of tea, and I think that that probably is not a great setup for Kidlit because Kidlit is a lot of like really minute editing of things, and here I am going, yeah, I don't particularly like the editing phase. I'd rather just come up with a fun story, and if it works, great. Then I'm happy. If it doesn't, then I just move on. Um, with the writing, are you good with the grammar side now, or is that
I'm better, but I definitely still lean more heavily. Like, I do my best, but I also know now that with the right editor, like, I don't expect them to do the heavy lifting. I expect me to do the heavy lifting, but I'm not as hard on myself where I'm like, oh, this period is out of place or this comma is out of place or I have a comma splice here. I'm like, no, that's why I get an editor that's going to help me is like if it's really like, they'll help me finagle all these little things that I have hiccups on, which my one of my editors did tell me that. She's like, that's why I'm here. And I'm like, and that's why I love you. Like, please save my soul.
that's the thing that I am horrible at is um, like even today when I went into that school visit, I felt really bad because my first reaction was I was going to they said you need to check in at the front desk, and so they had this little thing where you type in your name to get your badge. And I got my little badge that said my name, but I started to type it, and I most of the time when I type, I don't put in capital letters. I don't know
Okay.
if I'm bothered, like it's like oh that's too much effort, or if it's more so just um, I don't particularly like the look of capital letters, which is sort of true. But in doing so, I was like, oh, these little kids are going to look at this, and if one of them sees that I did not put capital letters in my name, then they're going to say I wrote it wrong because they're all being trained to write the right way. And
Ah,
so
yes.
I very
Yeah.
quickly go, I got to adjust this. I can't let this stand. I can't let them see that I'm a bad writer of some sort. So, um, do you think, looking at stories for you, do you think you've gotten better at writing since you've been in this industry in the sense of like not not in the like capability side of things, but do you think your understanding of story structure and whatnot has improved because of just time, or do you think it's like the industry itself has made it easier to wrap your brain around what works, what doesn't, etc. down the line?
I think yes. More so to the concept of like, yes, I've gotten better because it's practice. The more you do something, the better you get, the more you're exposed to it. Specifically, the more you're exposed to it, the more you're exposed to certain ways of doing things. And I mean like certain ways as in like just structurally. It's kind of like art, you know what I mean? Like art, they teach you all these rules, right? All these things, all these conditions, all these like colors, everything. There's so many rules in a way that when you start, you're very aware or you start to learn them along the way. Then finally, when you're so equipped with them, it's almost like you start to learn that there's spaces to break these rules.
Oh yeah.
And that is where I have also kind of fallen with writing. It's like you learn rules, you also have learned along the way many places where other people have broken rules. And you're like, because you do like we do art, our brains are already starting to wire towards breaking certain rules and kind of like stretching and finding ways creatively where even if you break a rule, it still looks really good. Why? Because you have the know-how. Writing is like that too. In the beginning, it's like you feel like you have to write a certain way because everybody's writing this way, or you feel like, oh, this is the story that might stand out, or this or that. And that was something I think, luckily for me, I personally broke early on, but I was still susceptible to, which was like, oh, you want to write a story that everyone else will like. So you're more focused on what other people might like, which can actually weirdly alter your own story.
Yeah.
Whereas when you focus more on what you want to tell, it comes off in a way where it feels better. It's weird to say that because it's completely based on a feeling thing. It's like you're telling a story just confidently knowing that this is it. This is what I want to say. This is like, and you can stand by it. That's the most important thing is that you can stand by it. So I definitely think repetition helped and like kind of almost in a way looking away from what others are doing and looking more towards what I myself want to do and having people back me up on those decisions. You know what I mean? Because if everybody's trying to make me be like everybody else, well, my art isn't like everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not a concept artist. I'm not built to make something for film, like in high quantities, like in that aspect. I am crafting something of my own. So in a way, it's like it kind of just has to stand out on its own. Like if I put this out there, will you know it's mine? Which was something very fascinating to me when my agent took me on. Was she said that my work was, and I'm sure you've got it too, where your work is very distinct. Your agent looks at it and you goes, "Yep, that's
Yeah.
Mark's."
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think my work was very, very much more commonplace at the beginning than what it is now. I think I've gotten weirder and weirder as time has gone on. I'm worried that my agent look at it and go like, "Oh, too far." But for the most part, yes, there is some sense of um, what do I want to say, like you're a good agent can read through that and understand what works, what doesn't work, and when you're going to succeed given the right prompts or what have you in the future. Um, and so just having an agent who's willing to take that leap of faith, I feel like is always a lovely thing. Let's put it that way.
Oh, it
Um,
is. It
how did
is to get. Hmm?
did you meet your agent?
Oh, she found me. Can you believe that? She found me. So she told me, like we still obviously we chat. She told me she's like, yeah. So I don't really reach out anymore like that anymore. But at the time, she actually queried me. So I was posting on Instagram and I was just, trying to improve my art. And she actually dropped into my DM. And I don't normally, now especially, I don't really check my DMs. But at the time, I checked them on occasion.
Yeah.
And she dropped in. And she literally was like, "Hi, Lan, like, my name is Jem." And here's like her whole spiel. And she's like, "Are you looking to get agented? Are you looking to get into Kidlit?" Because at the time I was. So she just fell into my DM. And I was like, "Is this real?" And I had to go do some research. And I was like, "Oh my God, this agency is real." Because at
Yeah.
the time she was at Andrea Brown Literary Agency.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And then she's like, let's set up a call. And I talked to her and I'm like instantly just like, yep, we click. Just like it's like that feeling thing of like, I don't want to click or I don't want to sign on with somebody that I don't click with, but I also don't want to sign on to somebody who's just going to yes person me. Like I want somebody that I know will have my back, but also will challenge me. Like I want somebody who can be real with me because at the end of the day, that's who I'm going to need to have my back through it all is somebody who is real with me, somebody who is not just real, but also like the way they say things is like they think it through, they're kind, they're thought out. Like there's so many things that Jem just off the bat and are like what I don't know. We talked for like an hour or 30 minutes, checked off. I went to go ask some other people. I'm like, how's Jem? I don't even know if how many questions I asked, maybe two, three. She seemed great. Signed on with her, and it's just been like that since. And it's been a learning experience with her because again, I'm like, my life is really just figure it out because I go into things and I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing.
So she puts up with your nonsense, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. Oh yeah, definitely. She definitely puts up with my nonsense.
that's that's the kicker right there. Is the like an agent that can read sort of who you are, understand uh, the nuances and how to sell that to your audience. That like this isn't just someone who's a little wacky. This is someone who has really good ideas and will uh, sort of turn that what do I want to say, like craziness into something that's palatable for a large
Yes.
audience. Do you how often do you chat with your agent?
Weekly? I mean, like, okay, I try not to disturb her too much. So I say weekly, but truthfully, I think maybe once. In the beginning, we did talk weekly. I've been with her now 5 years. 5 years. It's crazy. If Jem ever listens to this, Jem, it's crazy. Um, but in the beginning, we talked a lot more. And then as time progressed, I think we just both inherently, I became very aware, and I was already aware that she's very busy. So I try not to overly disturb her because majority of the time we're just working.
Yeah,
I do check in on her on the occasion to see how she is, and then we get gathering and then figure out, like, then we talk a little bit about the industry and what, and then we can just go back to working. I think like I can go anywhere between not talking to her for about a month or so to all of a sudden talking to her like because I don't know. I think you understand. Things like to happen all at once. So like there'll be like months or like a month or two of nothing and then next thing you know like she's pinging me like every other day being like, "Hey, there's this. Hey, there's that. Hey, this person replied to this. Hey, this is happening here." And I'm like, "Why did everybody decide today to wake up?"
yeah, yeah. It's like they just finished getting their books out there to, a certain deadline that they had to hit, and then all of a sudden, all their fall releases are done, and so now they can look at the next range, and you're available to sort of
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Availability or just who knows what's happening. And sometimes it's even like I'll ping her being like, I have a new book idea. Do you like this idea? And then I'll be like, then she'll tell me like what she thinks. And then I just go. I just take it. I'm like, cool.
let
I'm
me
gonna roll with this.
Let me ask you about that because that's something that I struggle with. Where like I always feel like I have to package up a really strong dummy book or something of the sort, almost to a level that's probably way beyond what it needs to be in order to pitch it to my agent.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then at the end of the day, if she doesn't like it, I feel like well, that was a waste of time on that project.
Oh,
Have you?
mm.
So my question to you is sort of when you do pitch those ideas, what kind of state are those stories in at that point? Are
There.
they really
Oh.
advanced, or are they just sort of a like a two sentence thing?
So the way I do it is I will first pitch to my agent an idea, which can be anywhere between a couple sentences to just a couple prompts to like maybe a couple bullet points. And because, as you know, working with your agent, they're very well aware of your work, she just kind of tells me yay or nay, which for the most part is yay. And once she gives me kind of like this, like, okay for the idea, because it's just an idea, she can't really sign off on it completely. And my agent, like, Jem is pretty much game with all my ideas. Now, after that is pretty much the execution. The execution is where it all falls together. So once she kind of okays my idea, whatever random idea I had that day or whatever like concept or like I just come in, most of the time I just come in being like, "Hi Jem. So like I have this idea." And then when you're like, "Oh, she puts up with your shit." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, she absolutely does." Because I'm that person that goes, "I have this idea. What about this is that." And then she goes, I would have to see it. But yeah, do it. And I'm like, cool, doing it. And so I go off, and what I create after that is I will put together a dummy.
Yeah.
I will write it all out, and I will write it all out in the actual like dummy itself. So I do rough draft it on the side just so I have some prompts and ideas of how I kind of relatively want it to flow. But I will really piece it together with um, relatively rough to cleaner illustrations. I don't approach it as clean as I would with an art director, but I still approach it clean enough because my agent at the end of the day is not an artist. She is my agent, and she also needs to be able to understand where I'm coming from in order to understand what she needs to do to pitch this out there. So I'm pitching
Yeah.
to her so she can pitch better than I can pitch. Like it's like a double like I help you so you can help me so like we can help each other. Um and that's pretty much what it is. And I understand the feeling of like, oh, you put on all this time and effort. But I also feel like if you enjoy doing it, it's not really wasted time because at the end of the day, you can just, because I've had some ideas that have been poo-pooed and they like kind of just sit there and I'm like, I still love the ideas, but I understand why they needed to be poo-pooed. They're just too intense or for the wrong
Yeah.
age group or just like the structure of it is not built for what is currently digested in uh, whatever category. So, especially because like most of my stuff is for younger readers, I have not necessarily broken into YA yet. So obviously there has to be certain things put into place, which obviously the agent will know more of. And when that happens and things get poo-pooed, you kind of feel sad, obviously, because you're like, they just don't see the vision.
Yeah.
Like again, that
Yeah.
little like drama of like, ah, how dare. But the truth is, no, there's a reason and there's a rhyme to it. So in a way, I take those ideas that get poo-pooed on, and it just helps kind of give me a better basis for my next idea. What works, what doesn't work, what can I do to stretch the limits while still weirdly staying close enough to the limits? Um, and whether or not sometimes I want to be in the limits, but like, can I still do what I want to do? And I do very much believe that as much as it sucks, it's still better to do it because if ultimately your goal one day is to put a book out there that you've written and illustrated, you just got to go through the motion of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I that speaks very true to me in the sense of the there are a lot of times where stuff gets poo-pooed, not because it's uh, a bad idea, but more so just it structurally needs more. But I think I have the tendency just as a person to very much get caught up in that, oh, well, it's not good enough. And,
Ah,
I get caught up in the minutia of, well, uh, why is this not working? And the critique always sort of turns on me and becomes, well, I need to give up on that idea versus move forward with it.
um,
It's not a healthy, in no way is it healthy, but it is something that has always been sort of a problem for me of like seeing that through and to hear your sentiment of just like it, it's okay that things don't work out, etc. And even the idea that there's some reason beyond that maybe I just don't see or I know um, is very very helpful. I think in my case. Um, because oftentimes I get caught up in the why, and lose sight of the well, maybe it's out of our control. Uh, Also, the other factor is I think some of this, and this is sort of we're getting serious now. Um, some of
it is
the
the hour.
Yeah, some of the challenge for me, and I don't know if this will ring true to you, but some of the challenge for me is I think my interest level on certain aspects of Kidlit has changed over the years where
Ah,
I wanted to be very much a kidlit star and do the same thing that everybody else was doing early on. And now I'm very much I want to do the book that I want to do. And in turn, it means it's probably going to take longer to get that kind of book out there to the world because it's not everybody's cup of tea. And we're
yes,
in a time frame right now wherein not a lot of books are being bought on the same level that they once were.
yes.
They're like a known entity, and to come out, even though I've done books, come out and go, "Hey, I have this idea, but get this," and it's some weird sort of interpretation. Does not always sell the same. Uh, for a market the way that it is right now. And so that idea of like, I think my dreams and my hopes get dashed every time I hand something in, and it gets sort of a no, that's not quite right, or what have you. And eventually stuff will happen. It's just I got to have faith that it will, if that makes
Yes.
any sense.
No, it does, because that's exactly the way you should approach it, is like, but it's understandable. Everything you're saying is very natural. It's a very natural thing to feel like you've poured your heart and soul into something and to watch somebody tell you it's not there yet. And you don't get all the bells and whistles and all the explanations as to why. Like maybe you get some, but it's like it's just not enough because you feel like you can push the envelope. But in a way, sometimes the way I like to look at things, especially, is that I believe things happen in due time. It's also something that I've come to embrace for myself because I also many times it's like, why is this not happening sooner? Why does this not happen? Why is that not happening? Especially the younger me. Younger me was very much that person that's like a little bit more impatient. But the older I get and the more I do things, the more I've realized that things happen in due time. Things will always happen in due time. You just don't know when they will happen. But that also means that during it, you should just keep trying anyway.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it will always be a little bit painful to watch something you put a lot of heart and soul in sit on a shelf or just chill around or, maybe you just get told, like, not now. And especially, I understand, like, in the beginning, you're like, I'm just gonna be like that person who does everything. And the funny thing is, I also had that. When I started, I was like, I just want to do like all the books. But the weird thing was, I said this to myself, yet what was I drawing? Everything I wanted to draw.
Yeah, that's the type of books that I want to draw now are, I'm leaning heavier into what do I want to do. I just think I got to
Yeah.
that idea that it's going to be a everybody's cup of tea, and eventually I will find that person, that editor that goes, oh, this is what we need. But I just need to sit down and have that faith. And it's funny you mentioned that idea of Jim sort of saying, go ahead, just do it, just write it, like I don't know until I see it. And I've had that same conversation, the exact same conversation with my agent, where I'm like, what about this idea? And I wish, and I know it's not, they're not able to do this of any sort, but I wish there was something where they could just go, that's the one. That's the one. You got to spend time on that, and it will become the thing that you want. But it just never works out that way. They don't have a crystal ball to be able to look at and go, that's the thing that all the agents are going to, or all the publishers are going to want down the line. And so it's one of these things where it's like, you have to hedge your bets, and you have to sort of pay your dues in some way, writing things that maybe go nowhere. But the thing that I have learned along the way in doing that is I know what doesn't work as much
Yes.
as I do what does.
Yeah.
Um, and I know what type of book I want to do more so along the way, because I realize that I struggle more with certain types of books than others. So I do want to keep an eye. Okay, we got a half an hour. Good. We're still good. I just want to make sure that it's not going to cut us off at some point. Um, with the type of like thinking about sort of books, and I know that you're writing things as well, but is there a type of book in particular that like is your like, do you prefer a funny book? Do you prefer a book that's more sort of heartfelt or has some sort of moral tenet to it? Like, where does your heart lie when it comes to the type of books that you want to do?
I definitely lean more towards fun with the heartfelt. And I think it comes from, so as a kid, I didn't really like reading. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like reading. Like I enjoyed picture books, Dragonona. Um, there was this one about this little Asian lady who falls into the realm of demons because she's chasing her dumpling, running around going, my dumpling, my dumpling. And I found the title and now I forgot it again. But I loved those kind of stories. But then after picture books, when you age out of it and they make you start reading chapter books and then eventually middle grade, I was very uninterested. The stories felt very just bland to me.
Okay.
I was just very uncompelled by them, and not because they were bland, but because I personally just did not like them, which, like, my mom was big into Nancy Drew, and so she's like, you'll love these. I did not. She got me so many of them, and I was like, I don't like these. I did like, was it, I think, like, the, it's a Magic Tree House. I did enjoy the Magic Tree House, but after a while, there's only so many volumes you can read before you're kind of like, okay, because it's just the same story, and like, but it's still cool. You get to, it's a Magic Tree House that goes to like the place of the, like, the Egyptians or what. And I did enjoy that, but it wasn't until I discovered manga that I really fell in love with reading, and it was always those stories that were like heartfelt, but like they always had like twists, or like, like there's some like heart pain, and it's not always about like people kissing or getting together, or I mean, like, once you hit that point of young adult, you're kind of like, now quiche.
You say quiche?
Oh, like kiss, like
Oh,
now kiss.
wait, did you say kiss or did you say quiche though?
Oh, like quiche, like kiss, like it's just another way to say kiss.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with it. So
Yeah.
so, like, but there was something about manga is that for me, like the art, the way the storytelling unfolded, the every chapter, every novel was so captivating. I would sit there and I would just consume it. And each manga would take me about an hour to read.
Yeah, okay.
And
So
they had like, hmm?
that I was just about to ask this specifically. My son is really into manga, and the problem is we buy him a book and he's done with it in like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was just like, is he skimming through these things? Like, does he really read them and whatnot? And
Um, it's partial skimming. It's predominantly, it is like, it has a little bit of that skim because like you're just looking through it so fast, not because you're not digesting it, it's because you're just so engrossed in it. You're not really absorbing every illustration just yet, but you are absorbing the whole feeling and the story. You're really in it. So you really want to faster turn the page because you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next?
I,
So 45 minutes to an hour, I think, is very normal. Anything longer just means this person's really actually examining every illustration. Because the truth is about all mangas, I always go back to them to re-look at the illustrations because some of them, like, even in my like reading it and absorbing it, I do recall a lot of the illustrations, and I'll be like, oh, I love this drawing right here. Oh, this one's so good.
I just didn't know on a financial standpoint as a parent when I'm like, oh yeah, you can pick out a book, and then he's done reading it on the ride home from a really long ride in the car, and he's like, I'm all done, and it's like, well, we just spent $12 on that thing, and you're done with it. Like, you're not going to read it again. And he does read them again, but it's just, I just can't. I mean, I didn't know if he was a voracious reader or if that was just the structure of the book, but that's helpful to know that it's not unfounded that he spends an appropriate amount of time, let's put it that way, reading some of those books.
I think uh I think at the first run through, it is what I would consider quote unquote appropriate because it just shows how engrossed the person is in it. I think 45 minutes to an hour is about anything shorter. I think the person ran through it too fast. I don't think they're really engrossed in the story. It just seems like they're just faster, want to get it done. But about 45 minutes to an hour, especially if they read a lot of manga, it will go faster through time.
Yeah. Okay.
But off the bat, if it's like, because my original was like an hour, I think like an hour, 10 minutes, an hour, 20 minutes. And through time, I got faster. Like now I can read it within 45 minutes and I will just want to read it. I will not put the book down until I'm done with it because it's so good. Like mangas are those books also where like sometimes the stories are so deep, so intense that I cry. I'm literally crying. Like my brother got me, oh, what's it called? Hold on. I have it on my bookshelf. This one. So a couple of years ago, I had asked because I wanted to revisit my love of storytelling, and so I asked my Like when they were like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, "Whatever books you think I would be interested in and or interest you, because I want to
Yeah.
know what you're interested in." And so one of my brothers gave me this. He gave me the whole series, which is just I think 5 volumes. And it's just about a girl who it's just her artist journey. It's literally like the title. It's like my so-called artist journey. And by the end of it, I was just bawling. I was like sitting like everybody's off like celebrating Christmas and I'm literally in the like living room on the couch while everybody's like off having fun, blazing through these because like the story is captivating. It captivates me and I'm like I can resonate with it.
Yeah,
So I'm
it sounds, you always talk, or you were saying earlier, like your artist journey and things of the sort. Like it seems like it's right up your alley,
yeah.
story wise too. So
And I'm just sitting in a corner, like, so I finally hit within, I finished it because he was like, oh, it'll take you a while. I think like I finished it within 4 hours. I really didn't talk to anybody for like the next 4 hours. I was just off like reading this like nonstop. And then I just start crying and I'm like looking around like on occasion, being like quickly wiping away the tears, being like, nobody look at me. Nobody look at me right now. Like I also don't have the like urge to like get up and move because I'm like, if I get up and move, people are gonna look at me. And I'm literally bawling. So that's definitely what I look for in books is that captivating, that something that pulls at your heart, but in a way where it just feels so real. Something
so
that just feels so real.
let me ask you this then, on the kidlit side, what kind of kidlit books are you like buying now? Like, do you have a big library of books in the background?
Oh yeah. I love I buy picture books now because I'm like, I don't care how old I am. I
Yeah.
love picture books.
Oh,
Why? Because it's like a giant art book. It is really just a giant art book. So what I look for in all picture books I pick up is, first of all, do I like the art? Second of all, is the story as good as the art? Because that would be like, that is really what I'm looking for. I'm like, if the two can sing together, that's it. You're coming home with me.
so you read the book in the store then?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I get them online and like through the publisher direct or whatnot, and I haven't read it. It looks interesting, and sometimes the stories are amazing, and sometimes the stories are like, huh. But the visual is just so good that it overpowers. But I don't always read the whole story. It's Here's the good example that I give is my wife and I, whenever we see a trailer for a movie, if it's turning out to be a good trailer, we immediately say stop the trailer because it
Yep.
ruin the movie for when we go see it in the theater. And the same thing with a kid's book is I feel like there's a point where I say, no, I don't want to read it in the store. I want to read it at home in a comfortable environment and whatnot. And so like there's a threshold of how much I'm willing to read or on location versus out and about. Um, that's why I asked that. Sorry. Go ahead. What were you, uh, I guess my question was sort of like who who are some artists, who are some things that you're like, oh, these are the books of today that, things you picked up recently or what have you, that has become like the book du jour.
Oh, I never get that title to anyone because I'm like, there's always an unsung book that I have not found that I will like. Because I'm like, oh, if I give this title to this person, I'm like, oh, there's one hiding in a corner, isn't it? Like, my favorite book is probably hiding in a corner. I haven't found it yet. But currently, there are some books that I have an eye on. One of them is Judgy Bunny. Um,
Okay. I don't know if I know
let
that
me
one. I'm trying to like picture it in my head.
let me see. Let me see if I can quickly find the whole name and like everything. Give me a second. And the reason is because of the name Judgy Bunny. I'm not gonna lie, it sold me on the title. I have no idea anything other than it is. And then the cover, I'm like, I'm sorry. This is like one of those rare times where like you got me, you got me. Uh, da, 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 da. Nope. My goodness. I blame myself for my horrible memory.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't know if my wife was here. Because she's gone, she can't look stuff up. But if she was here, she'd look that stuff up right away, and we would know already. But
Ah, here we go.
she abandoned us.
So it is called Judgy Bunny and the Terrible Beach. Words by Scott Rothman and pictures by Lindsay Hunter.
Hmm.
And if you see the cover, you will understand why instantly it's like, okay, I gotta look through it. And I'm one of those people that I'm like, I love buying books at the bookstore. So I very much want to go to the bookstore to go check it out, and I probably will very much love it. I have another one of Lindsay Hunter's books, What If Pig? Love that one. I have many books.
Is there a local bookstore that you go to on the regular, like your local haunt of sorts?
I mean, like I go to like so the Canadian equivalent of Barnes and Noble is Indigo. I go to Indigo, but I'm still hunting for like, like a small bookshop. That would be nice. I'm still hunting for like one that's like close enough but far enough that it makes me walk to it. You know what I mean? Where you're like, I get my walks in, I get to go to a bookshop, I probably get to have a coffee along the way, I get to go look at books, I get to go tell the bookshop that I want these books, and then I get to walk home. And that sounds like a nice day.
There's got to be one. You're in Vancouver.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch. I just haven't found the one close enough to me. You know what I mean? Like I found a
Oh,
couple, but they're too far. Much too far. I'm like, I'm not walking an hour and a half one way. Crazy.
I mean, the equivalent, the closest thing that we have to us is a Barnes and Noble, but uh, I don't want to shop at a Barnes and Noble. I want to shop at an independent bookstore. So we go out of our way to get to a bookstore, and it takes us an extra 25 minutes to get there. But it makes the difference of going that far to get to a good bookstore.
I
Um,
agree.
is there is there a like library and stuff in the area that you go to on the regular too, or is that
Yeah, we have our public library. So luckily there's a number of public libraries and I do enjoy going to check them out. I believe there's actually one that opened up in a couple towns over that I do want to check out because apparently they remodeled and I have seen pictures and I'm like, oh,
it looks
fancy.
beautiful?
It
That's
looks beautiful and I'm like, I could go and like not do work for a day.
the thing near us because we're in New England. Some of the libraries we went into this library um, a a couple of weeks ago. We've been going to library book sales on a pretty regular basis, and we went into this library book sale the other day, and the building was beautiful. Like
Oh,
the all the woodwork, all the stuff that was in the space was just gorgeous. And it's like, of course, it's been around since like the early, 1900s. And so it's always been beautiful, but we just had never been in the space. And so like going to all these book sales that we've been going to, we're like discovering the beauty of like architecture basically at that point. I forget where I saw, there was someone online that posted something about a bookstore that was near them that they're going to spend all their time in that they had just rebuilt in a similar manner. And it was like this um, glowing window where you could just sit there and the sun would, bake you.
oh,
Like it looked so lovely. It didn't look like um, a library to me. It looked like it was like someone's home or something of the sort, and just beautifully put together. And so we are big supporters of libraries and bookstores and things of the sort here in this household. Whether we have other uh, you know places and things we get stuff at is potential. Like we might go to a different bookstore than what we normally go every once in a while, but man, oh man, there are a couple of them that are stellar, stellar that we can't get away from. Um, what about, do you go to events and stuff that are up in the area? Like, are there bookstore events that you get a chance to go see artists that roll through?
not really, unfortunately. Like they're not well highlighted sometimes, and like they're just far and few in between.
Yeah.
And also sometimes when they are happening, I'm like in the middle of a deadline or like just like I can't make it out of my way. Or the worst one, the worst offender. It's at a bookshop that you your public transport is still like quite the distance away, and it's hot that day. It's so hot. And they're like, yeah, you just have to walk 20 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah. No.
you want me to melt? Because I don't drive. So I'm like, you want me to melt?
Ah.
Um,
Um, uh, wait. I just see there's another question here that I saw. What are things that inspire you to write, draw a book or a slash piece? Wondering from both. And so I want to make sure I get that because we're getting near the end of time. I want to make sure I don't miss out on that one. Um, where does inspiration come from for you?
Anywhere. Somebody could say a funny word, and I'm like, I like that word. And I'm like, I'm gonna write a book all around that word. And then I just do it. And I design a whole character. That's kind of like what happened for one of my books. There was a word that we were referring, like, it wasn't even something somebody said. It was because I accidentally in my brain just kept on mashing these two words together. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? I need to make a character that's called this. And then you know what? Actually, why don't I? And you know what? Actually, and then it just turned into a whole book. And now it's sitting in my agent's. Like she has it, she confirmed has it, but like she just has too much of my work. So I'm also like, just
Slow down.
just sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, other. She also has to work on other people's everything, and I'm just like, it's fine.
Well, I think, I mean, you speak to sort of a truth in the sense of um, there sometimes there's this expectation that you can sit down and just get inspiration. There's some method to the madness, and I don't think there is. Some of the books that I've come up with, or some of the ideas, or some of the pieces I've done, have just been a fluke, conversation or whatnot. I would say a majority of them happen in the car, because
Yep.
it's got nothing else to do. So you sit there and talk with someone, and it's like, okay, what if this happened?
Yep.
Now, all winners? No, there's lots of duds in the mix, but that idea of sort of just spitballing back and forth with someone, in this case, my wife, of oh, it would be funny is if we did this. Oh, what if we took this theme and played with it? What would happen? And she's very good um, at sort of telling me the ideas that I have are good. I'm very bad at following through with them. Let's put it that way. Um, she, like there's all these ideas that I've come up with, and I just need to sit down and write them out fully. And I made a list the other day of like, what are those ideas, and can I start to hone in on how to present them to an audience of some sort, in a format that makes sense to me. And I just literally had not written them down until that point, which is kind of crazy in my mind that I had like removed the idea of literally writing them until that moment. Um, is there a when you are coming up with ideas, how do you know it's a good idea, or how do you know that it's a bad idea? Like, is there something that tells you, hey, besides your agent, is there something that that this works or this doesn't work?
No. I don't think there's ever a moment where my brain goes, okay, well, there are those where like, okay, like, yeah, you can't sell this to little kids. You know what I mean? Like your brain just goes, all right, right, wait. No, the person can't randomly die. Come on. Like, I mean, they could, but you have to find a better way. Like, we can't be having blood, guts, and gore. Like, there's obviously those ones.
Yeah,
But I think when you talk about it in the more like logistic as well as like, just well balanced way where it's like you have this story in front of you, you have this idea. How do I know if it's a good idea or not? And it's like the truth is you don't. But do
yeah,
you believe in it enough is really the true question. If you believe in it, do it. Write it. Make it happen. That's it. That's all you need to do. You just need to write it, make it happen, and keep believing in it. And if at the end of the day, it is that book, you know you believed in it. If it's not that book, it could be that book later. Sometimes things just don't happen for a while. It could come back later. But it could also be the start of another book. Like you write this one book, wasn't it? But it leads you to your next book. Sometimes it's just like that. But no matter what, at the end of the day, do you believe in it? That's I think that's all that really matters. Then you just go for it.
yeah. I mean, my inkling is always a good idea is one that comes easy for the most part. Like, it's not to say that they're all easy, but the idea that like you don't have to struggle to find it; it just sort of happens. And then on top of that, I also think that a story that, or for me at least, the stories that end, that have a ending that makes sense, and again, I don't have to spend forever trying to figure out the logistics to get it to work. It
Right.
happens. Those are the books that I think I enjoy the most, because they're fun at that point. You're not getting caught up in every little detail and going like, well, if this happens, then how is that supposed to happen? Um, those ones that sort of just naturally sort of write themselves in a weird way are the books that I thoroughly enjoy. Um, I think the bigger problem for me, and I don't know if this is for everybody, but I like books that sometimes are so surreal that I like the books that I like to read. Most of them, at the end of the day, I go, I'm not sure what I read, and you know, like, well, what I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like European books that I love, and they have these weird abstract ideas, and at the end of the day, I look at them and I go, well, that was cool. I'm not sure what it meant, but I really enjoyed the ride. And sometimes that's, sometimes it's a very clear ride, sometimes it's a more abstract thing. But as long as I walk away having had a good time, that's really what sort of makes the difference for me. Okay, I'm looking at the time here, and I know that we're coming up. We got about 4 minutes before it's going to cut us off naturally.
Oh,
And
okay.
what I want to do is I want to shift back to our faces here in a second and
Okay.
give a send off. I'm just finishing up one last little tweak on mine. I'm going to get my paint out of the way, and we should be able to wrap up and get all this solved. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch. I don't know if this is sort of the final. Let me see if I can get there.
That looks so good.
Little rush job, but we got it somewhere in this range. I got to do a little bit of digital touch up on some stuff that got a little out of hand, but it came out. I didn't put as many flowers in, and the heads and whatnot came a little bit different proportions, and I didn't do the
That's
bird. I could do the bird later, but yeah, I'm happy with it. And I've been watching yours the whole time and been like so impressed with your shape language. I'm always I'm a big shape language person in general, so seeing the way that you made that shape language for all those birds has been lovely to watch. But let's switch back to our faces and send you off in style. Now that we only got 3 minutes left. Ooh, why is that dropping? There we go. Hey, and I'm crooked.
I'm trying to like be smart about it this time and putting you on my okay, well, so much for being smart.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Oh, yeah. So much for being smart from the beginning, right? Uh, no, this has been fun. Someone asked me today at the school event that I was at. It's like, how do you know you enjoyed, or how do you know which Gavin Doodles you've done that you've enjoyed? And I said, like, I know which ones I've enjoyed because they've been conversations. They've been silly. It's been poking back and forth. It's been sort of, it's not an interview. It is, I mean, obviously there's questions that are thrown at you all as guests, but there's times where it's just, we're talking. And those are the, I've thoroughly enjoyed tonight or today. And I can't thank you enough for joining me. And you are officially a Gavin dude, which means you've stayed on the entire 4 hours. And originally I was going to make toques that are embroidered that say Gavin Doodle on them and send them out to people. But that never came to be. But my wife and I are actually talking about making little enamel pins of the logo for it. And maybe one that says Gavin Dude and sending it out to people. So if we ever make those,
If it ever happens. If it ever happens.
Then you will get one of those in the mail because you made it all the way through this nonsense.
Well, thank you. Thank you for like having me for one. You have so many good questions. You kept the conversation going. It was a wonderful conversation. It felt very natural. I just felt like I was talking with a friend. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for putting up with me.
It's going to cut us off in like a matter of seconds. So I just want to throw it to you one last thing, which is, do you have anything you want to promote before you?
I have 3 books coming out next year, none of which have sale dates. Stay tuned. Follow Mark, follow me. You'll get all the input. Okay, yeah. If it cuts out, love y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.